just a bloke in a bar.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of Bloke in a Bar, brought to you by Bloke Beer, the best beer in all the land. But quickly, Bloke jerseys are still currently $99. As of next Monday, so not this Monday, next Monday, they'll go up to $120. So make sure if you've been keen on a Bloke jersey, we've kept it open for as long as we can in regards to the $99 to the Bloke community. Next Monday, it goes up to $120. So we've basically small sold out, 7XL sold out, 6XL, 5XL, 4XL sold out. So if you want a Bloke jersey, head to bloke.shop, grab one, $99. As of next Monday, hard cut off, they will be $120. So make sure if you want to get a Bloke jersey, I'm sure you would have seen them everywhere on Magic Round. People absolutely love them. Head to bloke.shop. Also, 1 week to go before the Bloke Lager promo in all celebrations ends across New South Wales and Queensland. Get into New Year's celebrations and ask for Bloke Lager. That's right. In every celebrations across New South Wales and Queensland, Bloke Lager is currently on special. But how was your weekend, boys?
It's good, mate. It was good to be home after Magic Round. I enjoyed a bit more of a wholesome weekend. Family, friends. It was great.
Yeah, get the sleep in, relax, chill out, rather than the barely any sleep, stay up all night kind of stuff.
I desperately needed. I don't know about you guys, but I desperately needed it.
Yeah. What about you, Timmy, mate?
Much the same as Guru. It felt like the first weekend with the regional tour to start the season and Magic Round and a stack of other things going on. We would just sit back and relax and recharge the batteries a bit. So, mate, I'm feeling good.
What about you? I mean, you'd be feeling... I don't even want to know, to be honest.
Nah, I'm actually much the same. Had a pretty wholesome weekend as well. I actually got up early on Sunday for Mother's Day sunrise for like a walk with my mum and all our family. But in lieu of that, I went to bed at like 8 p.m. last night and woke up at 8 a.m. So I am fresh and ready to go.
Fresh and ready to go. We've got a fresh Matty.
No excuses.
This episode could be anything. It could be anything with a fresh Matty. Now, let's get into it, though. Accountability brought to you by the great sports bet. The best in the punting business, guys. If you're going to have a punt, you do it with sports bet. Make sure to gamble responsibly. You win some, you lose more. But let's get straight into accountability, because there's a few blokes that are a little bit chirpier this morning, and there may be a reason why. Accountability brought to you by the legends, our partners at Sportsbet. Storm 24 defeat the Broncos 16. I went Broncos, Guru went Broncos, Timmy and Matty went Storm.
And the boy, Matty.
Dogs. Absolute dogs. That was all pure spite bet, so that means that gets removed. Warriors defeat the Bulldogs. We all went Warriors. Wow. Hey, what about the Warriors? Getting the job done. Up the wires. Panthers defeat the Roosters. We all went Panthers, but I don't think we went Panthers by 13 plus. Holy. Rabbitohs defeat the Tigers. We all went South. There was a period there where I was going, oh, man, it could be a crazy upset here. But we'll get to what I love so much about this game later on. Cowboys defeat the Dragons. We all went Cowboys 42-22. I was getting a little bit nervous there for a bit, but the Cowboys kicked on. Raiders defeat the Eels. Everyone went Raiders. I went the Eels.
You're
Far
sick.
out. You got the
You're
Chockies.
sick.
Oh, my God. What a joke of a game. Seriously. Refs just robbed us of a win there. Knights 46 defeat the Titans 26. I went Titans. Guru went Titans. Timmy and Maddie went Knights. Oh, the Titans. They were in it. It was there for them to be won. And talk about not holding your nerve. They just absolutely fell apart.
At this point, are you both on a full round?
Next game, Sharks defeat Manly. Surprisingly, Sharks were at Manly's home ground. All three of us went Sharks, but Maddie went Manly, and this is what ruined Maddie's perfect round. Sucked in. The last game of the round ruined your perfect round. So Timmy's the winner with... Well, it says another full round. Has he done more than one full round?
Yeah, 2 full rounds this year, yeah.
Wow, so when Timmy goes big, he goes big. Because you're not ahead on the leaderboard, or you might have...
I am, mate. I am.
What is the leaderboard?
Well, I've written it under there. So I don't have the official leaderboard, but all 4 of us, are on either 3 wins or 2 wins. But
Question marks around this leaderboard. I reckon I've got yours by 1.
Well, that's not much of a leaderboard whether you're saying... So all 3 of us are definitely on the same, is what you're saying.
I think we're all on 2 and he's on 3.
He would be on 3 with this week.
No, I think you're on 3 as well, Guru, because you...
Shock me.
Anyway, I'll get it next week. I didn't have time to do it this morning.
Well, let's call
Very
it that.
dodgy leaderboard.
Yeah, what a dodgy... He said it was fresh this week.
Yeah.
Doesn't have a leaderboard there.
Well, I slept in this morning, so...
Jesus.
I'll take 3.
Wow. Unbelievable. All right. Now, it is time for Team of the Week. At number 1, we went Dylan Edwards. Holy moly. His form has just been so consistent. It's getting to the point where you don't really appreciate it anymore.
He's too consistent for his own good when it comes to these sorts of things.
It's bizarre. I mean, he's not in Teddy territory because of Teddy's career, but form-wise, he's in Teddy territory for me.
Well and truly, yep.
Form-wise. And look, to be fair, he's behind a team that's going really well, top of the table, all those caveats, but I think form-wise, a couple of years ago, if you said Dylan Edwards will be in Tedesco form territory, you would have been absolutely laughed out of the room. Yep. Now, you'd be a brave man to say that he's not in that form again. Not the same career, but form-wise.
And while he's behind, obviously, a very, very good team, or the players around him, we have seen him in recent years step up in the origin period when, Cleary and Luai are out and dominate games. So, and that's with, significantly weaker sides. And
on top of that, we've seen them without Edwards, and they don't look anywhere near the side without Edwards. So he does play a role in it. I've actually had some people, this was last year, this was before, this is when he was early on his run, the argument was, put him in a bottom 8 side and he wouldn't go anywhere near those stats. I strongly disagreed then, and I strongly disagree now. He's actually the type of player that he's going 200 plus metres, 8 tackle breaks a game, any team. He actually suits, for example, if you said that about maybe Will Kennedy, I could be like, yeah, Will Kennedy does need good field position to show his great ball skills. Whereas the players that get through 20 to 30 big hit-ups a game, that would be good anywhere.
I think if you put Dill in another side, I think his stats would improve because at the moment the Panthers only let him play through the middle and on the right edge.
Yeah.
Whereas if he was at another side, I reckon he'd play both sides of the ruck and you'd see even more from Dill.
Yeah. I actually think it's the ball-playing fullbacks that rely more heavily on, not to say that Will Kenny couldn't be good somewhere else, but I think it would be more likely Edwards would play a similar game as to, and maybe if Kennedy was somewhere else, he would adjust his game. But right now, the way he plays and the way he fits into the Sharkies, which is, isn't he so underrated, Kennedy?
Yeah.
He does not get any appreciation.
I just think with Dill too, before we move off him, if you go through the last 4 years of their dominance, he has been the most consistent player out of all of them. And I cannot hear an argument for anyone else that's been more consistent.
As in Penrith's most consistent
Penrith's
player.
most consistent.
Yeah, you'd say that for sure. Him and Cleary, that's the three that I'd be looking at going, week in, week out, of giving you their best performance. But just quickly on Kennedy, it's so funny how often you hear the commentators go, oh my God, when the Sharkies do their backline play, it is beautiful to watch. It's perfect. And Nico gets a lot of the raps, but Kennedy rarely gets the raps, but Kennedy's the one at the end of the backline executing the right play. It's the hardest pass because he's got to make that decision. Do I go short or long?
Very rarely gets it wrong.
Very rarely.
His timing to line is perfect every time.
Number 2, Will Warbrick. Hasn't he just getting better and better and better? Number 3, Timoko. Oh my God. He's a raging bull of a centre. He is a serious problem for anyone that he goes up against.
And a guy that is his age, you normally see these good games every 2, 3, 4 weeks. He does it every week without a doubt.
Mental. Campbell Graham just continues his incredible run of form. Tane Milne. Tane Mill. How do you say it? Milne. Tane Milne. Mate, he got through a stack of work. It's funny, that energy you saw from him on the weekend, you saw the best version of what can happen from that energy. And some weeks with him, we see the worst version of it. It's like, sin bins, head highs. But I think it's like that double-edged sword. You also get games like this where you're going, how much work did this bloke get through? So great game for Tane Milne. At number 6, and also our hungriest player, brought to you by Menulog, it is Kalen Ponga. Wow. What a game. What an absolutely incredible game. And what I love about Kalen, it's been like this for quite a few years, when a big game needs to be played by him, he brings out the big game. Now, I know a lot of Knights fans are going to say, we want to see this all year. We agree. We all want to see this all year. But at least appreciate it when it comes along. And geez, he was good on the weekend. What do you reckon about Ponga?
You almost forget how good it is to watch KP when he's at full flight, because it feels like it has been a while since we've seen it. And we've been saying for a long time that we would have played him at fullback, and he's playing 5'8", but God, he looked like a fullback. Everything he did well in that game, I can see him doing that for the Maroons in a couple of weeks, which kills me, but God, he was good.
Timmy?
Yeah, you're waiting for someone to to stand up, but obviously a very free-flowing game, a lot of points in it, that Knights-Titans clash, but for someone to take it by the scruff of the neck and win it for their side, and that was Kalen Ponga. So you can do all the things in the world and look like a superstar when the side's going well, but who wins matches? Kalen Ponga.
And it just shows you it's very easy because, there's so much media speculation and everything that's happened over the last year for him to forget the silkiness that he has in his game. And there's a reason why he's a game superstar. There's no denying that. But there was a reason why he was on trajectory to be the number one back in the game. And so hopefully he can hit continue playing like this for the next few weeks.
The pitchforks were out for him after one bad game. He had a lengthy stint out and obviously the concussion issues. Pitchforks were out for him and he responded like a champion.
Yeah, so hopefully he keeps playing this well. And also he just showed Origin selectors, just pump the brakes a bit on am I done, am I dusted? But it's a long season as well. So hopefully he can play like this for the rest of the season. And I'm just happy to see Kalen just out there doing what he was born to do.
Yeah.
So really, really good. That's Hungriest Player brought to you by Menulog. So as you guys know, use code PONGA to get $10 off when you spend $30 or more on Menulog. Code PONGA. So if you're getting a feed on Menulog this week, just put in PONGA. If you spend $30 or more, you get $10 off your order. That's incredible. I'm pretty sure that's a delivery cost. So you basically don't have to go get the feed. You get it free pretty much. They bring it to you. Unbelievable. Now to the rest of the game. The team. Shawnee Johnson at number 7. Again, another guy that the pitchforks were out after last year. He should retire. And I'll be honest, even part of me was like, I don't know if Shaun Johnson can get that form back again. It's been quite a while. Now, I did understand he had a lot of off-field stuff going on. He hadn't been home for a few years, or he wasn't with his family during that time. But, geez, I expected him to have a good, solid season. I didn't expect him to be playing like this, though.
I'll be honest, I didn't expect him to have a good, solid season. I was really worried about SJ coming into the season. What he's done has been tremendous. 3 weeks in, I thought Hopgood's definitely going to be my favourite storyline of the year. Now it's SJ by a mile. I've been so impressed with what he's done. And I know the Wars have, been unlucky, had a few tough calls, but just watching him all year, it has just been a treat.
I just love the fact that he has completely changed the yarn around his career of just this electrifying young superstar that can step people to a game managing 7 that could be responsible. Think about, when he came into the grade, it was his responsibility to almost take a team to a grand final. He did that. And so this young superstar comes on the scene. Now he's got the same responsibility, but in a different light, where he's the veteran that needs to turn a club around, a big ship. And it seems like he's doing it. And to do both at the ends of your, like the start and the ends, just shows you how good he is.
It would have been one of the great injustices in rugby league history. Because I'm with you, Kempy. If he finished his career off the back the last couple of years and he hit the skids again this year and this was the end of him, like, we all love him. We know what he's done throughout his career and we're some of his biggest fans. But you know that the narrative out there would have been, as you said, a star rookie, but, didn't really finish his career well and didn't achieve sort of too much here and there. But to go out and remind people how good he is, now other teams, there's chat of him going to other clubs and people wanting his signature, just reminding people how good he is. And for his legacy, he might have a couple of years left in the NRL, and on current form he certainly does. It'll do wonders.
Yeah, absolutely. Even Benji Marshall did this to a lesser extent. Like, he just put together one or two solid years and it kind of reinvigorated this is how great this guy is. SJ, I'd say, is doing it to even bigger extent.
I think this year as well, it's worth noting, started the season with Tomato Martin at 6. He got injured. If Metcalf was fit, he probably would have come in. Instead, they went to Dylan Walker. Now they're on Volkman. Like, he's had 3 halves partners in that time. The hookers have swapped and changed. Chance has missed some footy. SJ's been the only consistent guy there.
Edge-back roles have changed as well.
Harris has missed a heap of footy.
Yeah, absolutely. So, if the Warriors do turn around, how good is it that Shaun Johnson's name is going to be part of the reason for that? We'll get to it later in the show. I am a bit surprised that the Warriors are open to him talking to other clubs, but they must have some. There must be a reason for it.
He's coming 6 on the Dally M's at the moment, 22 points.
Could you imagine?
For example, Cody Walker's on 21. We know how good Cody Walker's been going. So
good.
Imagine SJ Dally M.
Mate, just retire. Get your Dally M and just retire. Yeah, just go off into the sunset and just seriously.
So what else I love is that we're seeing a resurgence of SJ just as RTS is about to walk in. Next year could be special for the Wires.
Oh, mate. It's very exciting times. Payne Hassett. Let me just read you Payne. Actually, you know what? We'll wait till we get to the game.
Just read last week's.
Yeah, read last week's, and then add a little bit more onto it. Yeah. 9, Harry Grant, just so scary out of dummy half. 10, Adam Fanor-Blake. Seriously, we talk about it every week, but if he was at a Sydney club or a Queensland club, he'd be considered one of the best in the game in front row. Number 11, Scotty Sorensen was absolutely electrifying on the weekend. What an incredible game. Think about the patience he's had to have this game. The patience he's had to finally get the moment that he kind of deserves. So good. Helam Lukey. Cowboys' ability to develop back rows at the moment is shocking. I mean, we had a guy come off the bench last week. It was a Kafuki. Apologies if I'm misremembering that. But yeah, Lukey, seriously, he is playing so well that. So you've got Lukey on one edge. Who's on the other edge again?
Jack Goals at the moment.
Jack Goals, and he's going right as well.
Doing well.
And then obviously got Leilua, whatever's going on with him. But can you imagine a prime Nanai, a prime Lukey on your edges? That's up there with the best back rows in the comp.
Lukey is destined for rep on.
Oh my God. That try where he stepped, palmed, bumped, scored. For a guy, what is he, 6'5"? He's huge. And he moves like that. Amazing. Isaiah Yeo at 13. Victim of his own consistency. He was absolutely outstanding. Number 14, Jerome Luai. Incredible on the weekend. And just put the brakes on, I think. There's this huge push for Nicho Hynes. And I understand. And there was probably 1 week where I was like, you know what? I think Nicho Hynes may have jagged that 6th spot. I wasn't fully convinced. My argument has always been you start game 1, 6-7 Cleary, Luai, you put Hynes at 14. I think on the weekend, as long as he comes out and plays well the next weekend, Luai may have put a stop to that just with that performance.
I was pretty much convinced on Hynes and then sat there on Friday night and just went, shit, I'm back to square one.
I know. It's not just about the individual performance. It's about the fact that the Penrith Panthers absolutely towed up the Roosters. And that's a combination. That's not just Cleary doing that.
What a statement game. And I was the same as Guru. I'm still in Team Nicho for Blues 5-8, but a game like that against the Roosters, who, despite their attacking sort of deficiencies this season, their defence had been pretty good. And to put, 46 on them was unbelievable. So Luai, as I said, players standing up when you want them to, couldn't have done a better job.
Absolutely. Number 15, Tarpanair. The Raiders, I thought he was outstanding, especially in that second half. Fafita, wow. Nikora at 17 from the Sharkies. That's the team of the week. It's the team of the week, baby. All done and dusted. Brought to you by, I'll just say Menulog, but really, it's just brought to you by us. Brought to you by SC Playbook. Give SC Playbook 1
there we go.
Instagram, or give him a follow. SC Playbook 1 on Instagram and the Rugby League Guru on Instagram. Make sure to give him a follow. Now let's get to the game, shall we?
Just before we start, breaking news, and it's official, Craig Bellamy has re-signed for next year.
I didn't think he was retiring.
Nah.
I did not. The Storm are too, obviously people will look at the Cam Smith situation in regards to he took quite a while to retire, but a coach, you can't afford to wait that long and then just go, retiring, because your recruitment, everything changes. Whereas Cam Smith had the cheese and Harry Grant ready to take over. So he had time to go, you know what, if I do bounce, it's in good hands.
I think we could be having this same conversation for 3 years in a row.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we have been. We have been already having this conversation.
Naturally, there was a lot of media speculation around it, but if he was actually going to retire and not saying he wasn't genuinely considering it, but there would have been so much more smoke around of he's going to go. It was always he's not going.
And you know what? Even if he was to win a premiership, I think then he would go, I haven't won 2 in a row. I'll go again.
I personally think that he wants to win a premiership with this new flock of players. I think that is his goal, because that would just be... Because the one knock in quotation marks, because he's the one that developed him, so it's like, how could you knock it? He's like, oh, well, look at the spine that you had for that long period. If he could go out and do it again with a whole new generation, a whole new, just amazing.
And that's the thing when you're talking about the greatest coaches of all time, the reality is you have to look at what they haven't done to be able to separate them. And I think that's probably the one thing standing in Craig's way at the moment.
Yeah, that and obviously other clubs winning premierships. I think that's the one thing that Bennett has on a lot of other coaches is the success at other clubs.
Yeah.
But I mean, are we really sitting here saying Bellamy wouldn't have been successful at a club? He did it at Melbourne. In Melbourne, a non-rugby league state. You reckon he couldn't do that at Brisbane?
Yeah, imagine what he would have attracted at Brisbane or at the Roosters and players to come there.
Yeah, I think he would have had a lot of success at any club that he went to. Storm defeat the Brizzy Broncos 24-16. I spoke a little bit about this on Packer Up Boys on Friday. So I'll let Guru take the floor. What do you think of this game, mate?
I haven't listened to Packer Up Boys. I'm not sure what your takes were on it, to be honest with you. But I went into this game wanting to know if the Broncos were flat track bullies, to be honest with you, if they would compete with, a side that I consider to be a definite top 8 side in Melbourne. And I know they lost, but I was pretty impressed with Brisbane. Considering Adam Reynolds went down in the 15th minute, for them to hang in this game, I thought they did really well. I thought Reece Walsh copped a little bit on social media and he had a bit of a mixed bag game, but, mate, I just love how Reece Walsh is always trying to win the game of football. He's never sitting back. If there's, like I thought that one-on-one strip that he went for, like he's just genuinely always trying to win the game of football. Doesn't all go his way. There was even that moment towards the back end where he tried to scoop the ball up. They knocked on. Like, in that moment, Reece Walsh saw the ball on the ground and went, I can go the length here. I can win this game for my football team here. And I love that about him. I'm pretty happy with the Broncos' performance in this one. All things considered, 3 sim binnings they had.
2, but 2 really. That affected the game.
Yeah, the one, and then Adam Reynolds gone. I thought Brisbane did pretty well in this one.
Timmy?
Yeah, I like it. He probably came out, maybe harsh to say, but more impressed with the Broncos for everything that went against them. And, I mean, things went against the Storm as well in the first half. You mentioned Reece Walsh there, and particularly where he went for that one where he tried to go the flyer late on and scoop the ball. Like, that was chasing points with a handful of minutes to go. If the game was tight or it was early in the game, I reckon, he just grabs it and tries to stick tight. You'll get to it very shortly, I'm sure, Kempy, but there's just so many different things that impacted this game between sin bins, some controversial calls, the Reynolds injury that I'm like, I don't think we got a true insight to either side in this game. I sort of left it going, I didn't learn much about them, except for Brisbane's resilience, because of all things Guru just mentioned. They did impress me.
Yeah, you're right. Like, my take is it's very hard to take a lot away from this game other than Storm showed resilience in patches, which we all know Storm can do. So it's like, well, that's no surprise. It's a Melbourne Storm. But I do think the question heading into this game was, what is Broncos' resilience like? What are they like under the pump, against a good side? And I think they did really, really well. Lost Reynolds, Sinbin, Herbie Farnworth, Sinbin, Paddy Carrigan. Not 2 small players. These are 2 extremely important players. The reffing was just was not. It just wasn't good enough. It just was not at an NRL standard. The Reece Walsh one, although I don't think it should be a shoulder charge. I don't know what fullbacks are supposed to do in that situation. It has been a shoulder charge for quite a while now. I hope that this is the standard that we're setting though for the rest of the year, where we go, okay, look, when it comes to cover field tackles, as long as there's no malice and they're not fully tucking their arm, just let them fling their bodies at them and try and stop the try. Then obviously the Harry Grant penalty try was it was ridiculous, like absolutely ridiculous. We have to stop. We have to stop showing these things in slow-mo. Because you show them in slow-mo, you create an illusion of time to think. Harry Grant didn't have any time to think. He was literally just trying to kick that ball out. Meanwhile, Herbie Farnworth was jockeying the ball as well. So it's like, what do you want Harry Grant to do in that situation? Is he supposed to jockey until Herbie Farnworth jumps on the ball and scores? No, he had no option. Now, I'd get it if he came directly from behind, shouldered into his back, or pushed from the side, Wasn't that at all. It was his legs that tripped him over and him trying to kick the ball. So I thought that was a really bad call, which again showed Storm's resilience. They didn't drop their bundle. They hung in there. So I am actually more, I guess, we had the same, I guess, feeling around the Broncos for this year. Is like, are they just beating sides that aren't playing that well? I am closer to, I genuinely could see them challenging for a premiership than I was last week. I'm still not 100% there yet. I think obviously this week will be a really good telling. We don't have to go out and beat the Panthers, not we, but the Broncos don't have to go out and beat the Panthers. But if they show resilience like that again, then I go, I probably think we can make a bit of a run for the finals.
And when Cam Munster scored that first try, like you could see Money and Grant were on, I sort of went, okay, this will be a huge test for Brisbane. Then Adam Reynolds left the field, and I sort of went, how much can I take from this game now, realistically? But as you said, the way that they hung in, it really impressed me. And I'm the same. I knew last week they were a top 8 side, but being a top 8 side and a premiership contender, there's a gaping hole between those two in this competition.
Yeah.
I agree. They've pushed closer towards. Like, for me, if they would have beaten a bottom 8 team for 40 points to nil, that wouldn't have done what this game's done for me.
Yeah, I agree. Because it's the Storm at home. They've got a terrible record. And Paddy Carrigan doesn't get sent off. They may have won the game without Adam Reynolds, which is crazy to think in this. Now, look, that's very wishful thinking. The Storm could have gone on to still win it. But, it feels harsh on Storm, though, because you're like, Storm won the game. And they had some real rough calls. Xavier Coates, no try. That was one of the great tries all year, gets disallowed. Yeah. We use a video ref for everything. And then the one time he just needs to wait 5 seconds. Just give it 5 seconds, then use the video ref. He doesn't.
20 minutes into the game, I was sitting there going, far out. Look, Brisbane have been kissed on the pecker in this one. Like, there was the shoulder charge that wasn't given with Walsh. You always say, Kempy, like, you can understand when the referees get it wrong in real time, but when it goes to video ref and they look at it, and still get it wrong, I could be wrong. I don't think there was a word mentioned about shoulder charge when they were reviewing that Reece Walsh in the corner. And just like you, mate, I'm the same. I would love for that to be the norm and that for them to be consistent with that. But every day of the week, that's a shoulder charge in what they've given in the past.
Yeah.
So there was that, and then there was the Harry Grant penalty try, and you're thinking, and then out of nowhere, just the script flipped big time around. Yeah. Then the Broncos copped a heap of poor decisions, which goes back to, like, how much can you really take from this game in terms of, making a judgment on either side.
Wasn't it wild how, we saw the replay of Justin Olam charging that ball down or hitting it down, and then you had Xavier go the length, and no result came out of that. But when Warbrick scored that try, we went all the way back to make sure that Xavier's toe was offside in that moment from 40 metres to the side. I could not believe that one.
Yeah.
That was, can be another one. You always say they're looking for reasons not to give a try. That could have been the best example of it I've ever seen. It was so late they went for the review to find the toe over. It's like, what are you doing?
Yeah, what are we doing here? What are we doing? It's just, I don't understand. The officiating should be to facilitate a game of rugby league, not dictate a game of rugby league. And I think we have changed from yesteryear where the refs felt like they were there to facilitate, play rugby league, and I'll just keep you within the lines so you can play rugby league. I think nowadays it's genuinely to dictate the game. No, we want the game played the way we want to. So, for example, if I'm a ref that likes a slower paced game, I'm going to blow a million penalties. If I'm a ref that likes a free-flowing game, I'm just going to let things go. And it's just like, you should not be the centre of attention. I shouldn't be watching rugby league and be constantly looking at the referee going, oh my God. It should be up to the... And then some people go, well, if the ref doesn't step in, then teams are going to lie in the ruck or they're going to do this. That used to be the coach's responsibility to identify it and respond and go, they're lying in the ruck, so we'll lie in the ruck. And then, they're doing this, so we'll do this, and vice versa. We'll do this tactic, so they'll do this tactic. Whereas now, the refs just completely dictate the game. Like, however the ref wants the game to be played, that's how the game is going to be played.
Well, the best referee in the game is probably the one that you don't hear anything about, isn't it?
Yeah.
Why in Origin do we barely ever complain about reffing, and the game is so free-flowing, we let so much go, and we allow players, the teams, for example... game one, like Freddie came out and said, "Oh, they were really good at holding down the ruck." So what they did was they came back game two and tried to combat that. And I don't understand how we can get it so right in Origin. Then during Clubland, we just get it so wrong so many times. It just like my brother's. He watches rugby league every now and then. Not a dedicated diehard fan, but he's like, this is unwatchable. Like, I don't even want to watch. I was excited about this game. I don't want to watch it anymore. I don't want to watch it anymore.
Yeah, in this game too, like this should have been like, if you have a look at the Dally M leaderboard at the moment, 3 of the top players are in this game. And it was completely ruined. Just on that too, the Broncos have played 11 games this year. They haven't had a bye yet. That means that throughout their games, there's been 132 Dally M points up for grabs. Walsh and Payne Haas have got 54 of them. That's 40% of the Dally M votes that have been available, those two have got in those games.
Far out.
There's 34 players competing for those points every week, and they've got 40% of them in the first 11 weeks. One of them's a front rower.
Front rower. So incredible.
He's leading the Dally M points by 5. And I know the system's obviously changed and whatnot, but Harry Grant's coming second on 25. Payne Haas is on 30.
Yeah, it's amazing. It seriously is amazing. Especially what Payne had, like Reece Walsh. He's had an incredible year, just such an attacking weapon. But Payne Haas right now, he's just on another level, on another planet.
And like the more you think about it, Payne Haas on 30 Dally M points, his fullback's stolen a heap of points off him, and he's still leading by a heap.
Like if Reece Walsh isn't playing those games, he's probably leading by some crazy margin. Yeah, so I don't know what else to say about the referees, guys. That was just not up to NRL standard, in my opinion. Ended up being I think it was 28 penalties if you include the 6 against. It is just, I just feel like this year specifically, and I understand that they're getting all these directives and it's getting harder and harder, the game's getting faster. Well, it was the NRL's decision to make the game faster. So give them the tools to be able to handle it better. They took a ref away to make sure, anyway, just not good enough. Just not good enough. I think the reffing has not been, we've had seasons that haven't been that great, and we say this isn't that great of a season because we've got 4 teams who are going to win it and the rest have no chance. I'd make an argument that the reffing hasn't been great overall this season. I really think it needs to improve. And I'm not sure how you do that, though.
I've got no idea how you do it, but I mean, that's the other frustrating thing. I think, too, that the on-field refereeing hasn't been great, but I think the video referee and all that's been worse.
Oh, yeah. When I say reffing, I'm talking video ref and ref.
Both, yeah. But I don't... Refereeing on-field, I can understand when we get that wrong and when it's not perfect, and I can accept that. But when you send it upstairs and you get to have a look at something X amount of times, I don't understand how we consistently get it wrong so much. It's mind-blowing.
Yeah. It just... I want to get angry, but I'm just like, what's the point?
What's the point? Yeah.
We'll be yelling and ranting and raving for every podcast for the rest of the year. And it's like, you don't come here to hear that. You don't come on to listen to Bloke to hear us blowing up about the refs every week. But just so we know, we agree with you. The refs have not been good enough this year. And it's not just this game. We'll touch on it slightly in other games, but some of the calls in the other games, you're just sitting there going, I do not get it. And the inconsistency. Carrigan gets sent for 10. So Broncos essentially, as soon as he gets sent to 10, you go, Broncos have lost the game. Then he doesn't even get charged. Make it make sense. And what do you say to the Broncos faithful? And take out the Broncos. With all of us that support teams have had it happen to them. Do you say, oh, sorry about that, got that one wrong? 10 in the bin, not a penalty, which we all can live with. It's like, all right, a penalty, whatever. 10 in the bin, and then doesn't even get charged.
I was shocked when the NRL, and I agree. I don't think Pat Carrigan should have got 10 in the bin, but I was shocked when the NRL came out and admitted that.
I thought they just doubled down.
Please lie.
Yeah,
for God's sake, lie for the good of everyone.
Give him a fine and just so you can look. Yeah, we still believe it. But to come out and go, no, it wasn't anything.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks for that. We just lost our main player for 10 minutes. Just craziness.
And as we've said before, Kempy, but with these hip drops and all that, right, just penalise him in the game, and then if you want to suspend him for a few weeks, so be it. Just don't ruin the contest by simbing him every single time it happens.
Yeah.
If it's bad enough, sweet, simbing them. But for the super minor ones like that, like a joke, he said he wasn't even charged, just do the damage off the field, not in the game.
Yeah. I think that for the ones that you can clearly see, like, oh, shit, that's a bad...
If it's bad enough, sure. But
boom, get him off there. But ones where, anyway. We'll talk about the Storm. I thought this was a really good win for the Storm. Really important. They did show, they had some howler calls against them. Absolute howlers. If every 50-50 call went their way, there's a chance they win this game, 30-16. And it looks a little bit... The fact that it was 24-16, I wouldn't say it flatters the Broncos at all, because as they also got some really shitty calls. But I do think that, let's say, for example, Xavier Coates, if he gets that try, that's 30. Then if Warbrooks try, it's 36 or 30. Let's say 34.
Yep.
And I'm glad for both sides in this fact that obviously Storm won, but that would have made Broncos look like they got touched up down there. When in reality, if you watched the game, you'd know that actually it was a really tight contest. So I think it's a really good win for Storm. I think that even though it's a really good win, it's just so hard to take anything away from it, because what do you say? They can go with a young, explosive forward pack? Yeah, for sure. But when Carrigan, Haas and Flegg were all rolling forward, they were struggling to handle them. But then you go, well, who won the match? I thought Christian Welch was really good. Harry Grant, Munster were fantastic. I thought Holmes had a really good game. So it's a good stepping stone towards becoming a top 4 side, I think, for the Storm. What do you think of the Storm?
Yeah, I think Storm were the better side. Obviously, had a few things go against them. I personally think you summed that up really well, Kempy. I don't know how much to take out.
Yeah, very well
It
said.
is what it is sort of game. I don't know what more to take from it. Two good sides went head-to-head. It was an absolute disaster how it all played out, but two teams that played good footy and are going to feature come September.
Yeah. And I think for Storm fans, I think it would be really relieving to go, okay, like, we're still in this. We're still in this. Whereas I think if they come down and, Broncos do them at home, where something that hasn't happened in how many years, I think Storm fans would be alarmed, because then it's like, oh my God, now we're getting beaten at home by the Broncos, something that, it's like 10 years hasn't happened. I thought Katoa was good as well, 172 metres, 20 runs, 76 post contact. I think he's growing, he's really growing into his role. I do think, though, that they do struggle with a very big explosive forward pack through the middle there, which is surprising, because you'd look at the Roosters forward pack. Roosters forward pack probably not as mobile, I'd say. The big boys aren't as mobile as the Broncos forward pack. So I wonder, it'd be interesting to see how they go against a Penrith Panthers explosive forward pack. Obviously the Rabbitohs they struggled again, and the Rabbitohs have got quite a laterally good forward pack, even though their big boy, Tom Burgess, he's not coming off the bench. So that's how kind of fast-paced their forward pack is. But yeah, really, really, really good win. And good to see Munster and Grant and Hughes stand up when they need to.
There's a scary moment here where Nass, I thought he was injured. I sort of thought, I think you said it via text, sort of went, oh no. If he goes, they're in some serious, especially coming into the Origin period. But thankfully, he was all right.
He's got, I believe it's rib cartilage, so we know they can play through that and get needled up, and it often becomes a pain tolerance thing, and it can go at any sort of point. But yeah, around all those reasons you said about the 4-pack, Kempy, if Nass does go, real danger signs, as long as he's there and playing 50 to 55, he can be that impact for them, but they need him. I thought Will Warbrick's really starting to warm to the NRL. It was a bit of a slow start. There was a lot of hype around him, and you thought, oh, is he there or not? He's been good the last few weeks. Just strong, athletic body. He's becoming a really good finisher, so loving what I'm seeing there.
And you can see that he's kind of getting more confident in when he needs to chime in and when he shouldn't chime in. I think initially he's probably used to Union, where the wingers just stay out there, and when they're needed, they get called on. Whereas I think he's finding that perfect balance of all right, I can come in for a run. It might be mid-set. You're allowed to come in for a run, bro, just as long as you let everyone know, let the centre, so they keep their width. And so Warbrick's going to be really interesting to see, because obviously a Kiwi.
Yep.
If he keeps his form up, he may be in conversations for the Kiwi side.
And I think also, from watching him in Queensland Cup last year, when you take him to that level, he just was too big and too strong.
Yeah, too big and too strong.
So he dominated that and sort of was able to do it pretty easy. And I think the transition into first grade hasn't been easy for him, but I think now he's starting to find his feet, which is, that's how the transition should look.
Yeah, absolutely. If anything, he's ahead of schedule, because it's a year he had in reserve grade.
Yeah.
And he's already impacting games like this. Imagine in another 2 or 3 years. We always talk about it takes a while to... I mean, think about your own job. You serve apprenticeships for 4 years, then you get your ticket. Then it takes you another... Think about 5 years after that, how much more you know. All these little things that you can't explain in a book. No one can teach it to you. You've got to experience them to know what's going on. And I think we're seeing that with Warbrick. Outside of that, well, I mean, I feel sorry for Xavier. And I said this the other day, for a while now, I've been quite, not negative, because we're not really negative here on Bloke, but just, I guess, concerned about Xavier and whether he would reach his potential at the Storm currently. He hadn't really hit the ground running the way we thought he would at the Storm, and he has had quite a few injuries. Then he goes and does this, absolutely phenomenal try. And you go, there's that potential we're talking about. We're talking about a beast of a player, fending blokes, out-sprinting blokes, and he gets it taken from him. And you're just like, oh, poor bloke, he cannot catch a break.
Oh, I know that Billy Slater obviously would have seen that and would have taken note of it regardless. But it felt like one of those moments that if that would have been a try and it would have got replayed 5 and 6 times, you go, is he back on the radar?
Yeah, is he back? Yeah, is he sweet? Is he? And
I know that Slater still saw it, still saw how it all played out. He was at the game or not. But for me in that moment, I sort of went, God, that's unlucky in so many ways.
Should be on the highlight reel for the rest of the season. Won't be cited.
Yeah, well, you'll never see it again.
Yeah.
And it was just, seriously semi-road rider kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable. So, this is such a hard game because it's great win from the Storm. I do think people will need to make sure to show there's so much focus on the 2 sin bins from the Broncos that not enough people are focusing on penalty tries disallowed, 2 tries disallowed for the Storm, and they're not giving Storm enough credit for their resilience. Even though, as I said, I understand Broncos had a player off. That's three tries. So what's that? 16-point turnaround. And they hung in the game and they won it. And they won it convincingly in the end. So I think that deserves raps for that. The Broncos, real quick, we've already kind of spoken about it. Payne Haas, he is just... he's absolutely incredible. And obviously he's got some stuff going on personally at the moment. So we're sending him our best wishes. But he was outstanding on the weekend. Absolutely.
I said to Matty as we walked in today, I said, geez, you look at all these Queenslanders at the moment, they're all in career best form doing unbelievable things. I said to Matty, I don't really feel like we've got anyone that's in absolute career best form, and I completely forgot about Payne. He is without a doubt in career best form.
And he's yet to have his Origin stage happen yet. He's played Origin, obviously, but I even, it's kind of ironic, when he came into that first Origin, and remember how I think he was smiling on the field or something, and I just... The media got to run a hold of it, and he wasn't passionate enough. And I can understand that. If you look the way he played, he maybe wasn't aggressive enough. I mean, we're forgetting that he was 19 years old. But and then he gets in that stink with Tino, and you're going, okay, he gets it now. He gets it now. Now, I think that there's a very good chance he's player of the series. In my opinion.
If we win, I think he'll be right up there.
Because the form that he is in at the Broncos, he is unstoppable.
And with us at the moment, we're not going to have a home game until game 3. So we're going to have to win one of Adelaide or Suncorp. And he is the best front rower in the Blues team by a country mile.
Best front row in the game by a country mile at the moment.
Yeah. He may never play a bad game in his career. I don't want to put the mocker on the poor bugger, but just the style of play he has, because he's such a high work rate, he's got a good offload on him. It's just all doing the hard yards. I just can't see him playing a bad game.
I know. And he's got such a good attitude on the field.
Yeah.
He just never, ever gives in. And also I love... How many times do you see genetically gifted athletes, they come through the grades and their genetics make it so it's so easy, they got the terrible attitude. They get into first grade, but because they're so genetically gifted, they still manage to make it work. He's got the attitude of Shane Webke. Obviously, I'm not saying that he's as tough as Shane Webke, but when it comes to getting through work, he's got that attitude of Shane Webke, but the ability of Lazo, name it. Name your best front row ever. Payne has his ability and maybe more.
I genuinely think he's just about the only front row ever that when you see the Broncos and the opposition makes a break and they run for 60 or 70 metres, he's the only front row forward I've ever seen that's consistently back in the line every single time. And it's something that we don't talk about enough because we're just so used to Payne doing it. But if you took any other front row forward and did that, we would comment on it every single week.
Every time. 27 runs, 243 metres, 75 post contact, 8 tackle breaks, a line break, 3 offloads, 30 tackles, 0 misses, 0 errors. 62 minutes.
The thing that excites me a lot about this Origin series, especially with Payne Haas coming up, is that for me, he's going to be the leader of our
64 minutes.
middle forwards, and he's going to come up against 8 Queensland forwards who are just about in career best form right now, and I cannot wait to watch Payne rip in.
As I said, I think I'm getting close to I just feel a moment happening for Origin for Haas this year. There's just something in the air where, as you said, eight forwards in the career best form. They're going to be hunting Haas. I don't know. For some reason, I can see him have this moment where he takes on a few people or something, which breaks me heart as a Queenslander. But he's undeniable. Every team watches the same video, and every time he goes out there and tells people, it's incredible. Paddy Carrigan once again phenomenal in 71 minutes, 221 meters. They just. That Broncos like trio, and also Tapua and Jensen, like when they get on that roll, they're just unstoppable. They're just they're too big, too strong, and too mobile.
Hasn't Tapua just been a really underrated signing?
So underrated. And also, I thought he was going to come and make it about him in regards to like, I'm a really good offloader, but he does exactly what the team needs every time he gets on the field. Doesn't offload all the time, doesn't step and crab across the field. He just gets quick play the balls, gets through his work, gets off. I think he's probably one of the most underrated signings of the year.
And credit to Marty. I'll be honest with you, I didn't think he was going to be able to play that role. I really didn't. And for him to come in and just fit in and do, Marty just had to do what the Broncos needed him to do, and he's absolutely nailed it. So credit to him.
Great to see him and also Tommy Flegler over that Origin period, 2 weeks away from when Brisbane will be missing Carrigan and Haas.
Yeah.
They're 2 players who are going to have to step up big time for them.
Yeah.
Not even on those weeks where they're off due to Origin, but the weeks after Origin where they don't want to have Carrigan and Haas back up and play 65 minutes. They want them to play 40 minutes and give them a bit of a rest, or in a perfect world, rest them from the game post-Origin. Like they're sitting well enough on the ladder that maybe they can, but it'll be up to these blokes to step up and fill the void for them.
Flegler ran for 121 metres and made 41 tackles.
He's so good. Big, 66 minutes.
66, like these, I'm so devastated losing him. And also, if you wanted an example of when I talked about refs dictating the game rather than facilitating the game, here is your perfect example. It's the 77th minute. There's a bit of a push and shove. Yes, he did tell them if they push and shove again, someone's going. And he sends them off for 10 in the bin. The game was over. There could be no effect at all. If that isn't a pure, it looks like a power trip. Like what? Tell me how, it was a little bit of a push and shove. It didn't affect the game and you send them for 10. How does that, if you did it at the 10-minute mark in the game, I can understand it because you're sending a message of, this is the standard that's been set in this game. If you do it again, blah, blah, blah. It's the 77th minute. There is no standard that needs to be set. The game is over. That's craziness.
Would you submit it in Origin?
Absolutely not. It was a little push and shove.
Yeah.
We're playing rugby league here. We're playing rugby league. And as I said, if you did it in the first 10 minutes, and let's say in the 5 minutes there was a push and shove, and he pulled everyone aside, he said, next one does it goes, and you did 10 minutes, I would have said 100%, look, I don't agree with it. I don't think you should be sending blokes for pushing and shoving, but the standard was set and he told them. The 77th minute, it means nothing. The game is over and you're sending them off like they're naughty little boys to the corner. It is... Please, can someone explain to me what the benefit of that was?
No, I got nothing, mate.
What? That push and shove, they got sent for 10. Okay, cool. 12 on 12. You told them. You told those naughty little boys they'll never do it. Come on, man. That's ridiculous. Ridiculous.
Jeff Tuvey over here.
It's got to be an investigation.
Come on. That was nearly word for word.
My bad.
I love that.
But Penne getting sent to the bin for that? And then Flegler, what? It's just it's the 77th minute. If that wasn't an example of you just doing it to do it, I don't know what is. But there has to be a reason when you're reffing a game, in my opinion. And look, I'm not a ref, so I have no experience. And I do feel sorry for the refs that, are working their ass off to do the right thing and get the right calls. But when reffing, there should be a method to what you're doing. Like, why am I doing this? Okay, so why would I send these guys 10 in the bin with 3 minutes to go for a little push and shove? Well, it's not to set a standard. The game's over. Anyway. Oh, man.
Before we do move off the Broncos, they've obviously put themselves in a pretty good spot here. Like, they're coming off a disappointing loss. They're second on the ladder. And they're one of the 5 teams that hasn't had a bye yet.
Yeah.
They've got 3 byes to come. So, sitting in a good spot, Brisbane.
Mate, if they beat the Panthers next weekend, like, I'd still say Panthers are favourites, but they sit in a good spot then.
Where is that? Is that
Brizzy?
Is it in Brizzy?
Yeah. I can't wait to see Reece Walsh in this one.
Yeah, it is Thursday night.
He came out so rapid in that game on the weekend.
Yeah, he
and
did.
just the second half, looked like he went quiet, as Guru said. He copped a little bit of flack. He had very few opportunities in that second half. Like, he looked good.
I mean, he had a try assist, 20 runs, 182 metres, six tackle breaks, a line break assist, 2 offloads, 4 tackles, 0 misses. And I loved the braveness that he's showing as well in defence. You know, that's a part of his game that definitely needed improving. I think he has improved that. I really do. The attack. It's like what I said last week. As long as the rest of the team are okay with it and are willing to defend the errors, then sweet. But if the team is telling him, mate, you just got to rein it in a little bit, then that's what happens.
As Tim just said, Reece Walsh next week, Indigenous round at Suncorp against the defending premiers. How good?
Yeah.
The stage doesn't get much bigger during the year outside of Origin. Now, on to the Bulldogs versus the Warriors. I think this is more, what an incredible win by the Warriors. The Bulldogs, what I'm liking, again, we said it last week, don't get panic stations. Be patient. Yes, they're at the bottom, towards the bottom of the table, but they've got so many injuries. But the beauty about this period for the Bulldogs is they're going through a bit of pain because they've got so many injuries. But there are so many young guys that before their time are going to be playing first grade. And you look at the Broncos a few years ago, a few of those boys, I reckon, made debuts probably a year or two early. But we've got 23, 24-year-old forward packs that are dominating other forward packs. And I just look at the Bulldogs and I go, even the bloke on the wing, I thought Blake Wilson, I thought he was outstanding. There was another guy. All his mates, did they message you as well? Harrison Edwards. So a few weeks ago, we were like giving the Bulldogs a compliment about saying, look at all these young guys, we don't know who they are, and they're ripping and tearing.
Yeah.
And then I said, like, Harrison Edwards, like, no disrespect, I don't know who he is. And I said, Guru, do you know? You said no. And I said, well, fuck, if Guru doesn't know who he is. Anyway, so Harrison scores a try on the weekend. And most of the boys that were messaging, it was just a bit of banter. Yeah. They were like, oh, do you know who he is now?
100%.
Most of it was banter. There was some Derricks, though, that were like, oh, don't disrespect him. I was like, bruh, we're giving him a rap. But yeah, all his mates message, like, literally would have been like, maybe 10 of them as soon as he scored. Do you know who he is now? I was like, bruh, like, come on. I was giving them a raps for how they are.
It was funny because I was sitting at home watching it, and I got the Bloke account on my phone too, so I saw these messages come up one by one, and I knew you were in Byron as well, and I'm like, oh, good luck.
Yeah,
good
just
luck
trying to enjoy
these.
myself in Byron. Nah, as I said, most of it was just friendly banter. It wasn't, there was only one or two that just carried like, my God, mate.
Shout out to him though. 68 minutes he played.
He had a red hot crack, and look at his tackle count. 48 tackles, only 1 miss.
Wow.
And a try.
Good on him. What's his name again?
Harrison Edwards. So yeah, as I said, most of the boys is banter. It was great. They loved the podcast. But again, to our point that we were saying back then, without the joke, this is a painful period because you got guys like Harrison, like Blake Wilson, that probably wouldn't be debuting this soon without all these injuries, but they are debuting, and look at the promise they're showing.
And I mean, like, you just listed guys that probably shouldn't have debuted yet. Jacob Preston's one of those guys, but because he's done so well, we're just used to him being a regular first grader.
Yeah, like he's just a first grader now.
Yeah, he's swapped edges and no one's even spoken.
Yeah, and, to further our point in regards to what we're saying with these young guys that maybe are a year or so earlier, Gus Gould was saying on the footy show the other day, like, we are just trying to get our cap in the right shape. and we're building towards the future. He said, hopefully by 2024 we'll have our cap in the right shape, and then we'll be good to go. So these kids that are coming through now, or kids or blokes, in 2 or 3 years, will be almost not seasoned veterans, but 3 years into your career is very different to the first year. And so it's exciting. And I know that Bulldogs fans that want results right now, I get it. But if they can just stick to the plan like the Broncos did after everything fell apart, you could be in a similar situation with the Broncos where we may be premierships, if not this year, next year, you know? So I just think there's still a lot to be excited about, especially when your young fellas are coming in. Like, okay, so Harrison Edwards, great game. Then you've got Jacob Preston, also young fella, great game. Blake Wilson also was outstanding. That's 3 players that are super young, that came through your system, or at least in Q Cup or New South Wales Cup, that are coming in and impacting games. That's exciting for the club.
And in my opinion, the best one over the next few years will be Carl. And he's just finding his way.
Yeah, Oloapu. Oloapu.
So who I felt really sorry for in this game, and I'm sure Canterbury fans would have noticed it, Paul Alamonte. They made a break down the left-hand side, the Warriors. He came from right centre. He made a great try-saving tackle. He then got up at marker, was exhausted. He made another tackle where they were going to get on the front foot. And then Sean Johnson got the ball and kicked to the space where Alamonte had left, and they scored. And you just saw him standing there going, "You're a joke." But that's first grade, isn't it?
That's literally first grade.
Yeah.
Identifying, that's the centre there. Okay, boom.
There's space
They've got space there.
And then talking about the Dogs while we're on their depth, they're still sitting second in New South Wales Cup. Played the Warriors, who are third in New South Wales Cup on the weekend. This is obviously with the Doggies, so many players out, and they got a draw there. So the talent goes deep.
Yeah, and they won under 17s as well. So just to our point, like there's going to be some guys that come through, and you're not going to know who they are, but in 2 or 3 years, you're going to be going, wow. Like even I remember distinctly the Paddy Carrigan when he came through, because he came through as he's just battler, and because it was a year or so early, you were like, oh, is he going to be just a fringe kind of first grader coming through? I don't think anyone could predict how good Paddy Carrigan would get by the age of 23, 24 years old. And that is all a testament to, I mean, he was made captain of the club at 21. And I was going, and he played 20 games. And I'm going, mate, way too early. Way too early. But look at the man it's made, Paddy, where in his Origin debut, if you look at in the sheds, the forward pack is around him and he's doing these ones in his Origin debut. And so Bulldogs fans, I genuinely believe in 2 to 4 years, this is what it could look like for the Bulldogs.
And adding more meat to it all, we've been speaking about the injuries time and time again as if it's an excuse, and it legitimately is to a degree, and maybe they're not quite getting the results at the moment, but it was a completely new squad with a completely new spine this season. You add in Viliami Kickout, who on the left edge would be such a focal point of their attack. All these players have not had any time to forge any combinations. We say it time and time again that takes so much time. Yeah, they've had no chance to do it. And then you add in that, as a part of that spine, Flano's dropped out. Reynolds has been starting. Oloapu's come in. The Doggies are really building, and because of the injuries and a few other different things, it's going to take longer than expected, but far out, the signs are there, and I'd be very optimistic about them, or I am, I should say.
And we didn't even really mention Alamotti as a part of that young crew, but he's also a part of that young crew. I mean, I think it's exciting times as a Bulldogs fan. I think it's exciting times. I will say, just after we'd been going, I think Hayes Perham is really winning me over. He got through his work, which we always love, the 29 runs, the 240 metres or whatever, 6 tackle breaks. But that passing ability that we were discussing earlier in the year that were a bit questionable, there were a few moments in that game where I thought, ooh, still needs a bit of work. Yeah,
for sure. I don't want to go too harsh on him because he has impressed me the last few weeks, but that was far from his best game. I'm keen to see how he responds to that next week.
Yeah, and I think he's earned the right to be kind of because he rips in so hard every week, you can go, okay, that's a pretty poor game, but you don't do too hard on the kid because his attitude is always in the right place.
He's having it crack.
Exactly.
If his worst game is 29 runs, 243 metres,
you can work on everything else.
Work on it, yeah.
Whereas if he was a young gun fullback that came in and was running for 100 metres and taking 8 carries. You go, mate, and then he goes out and makes those errors. You go, oh my God, bro, not good enough, not good enough. But he works his ring off. So I know Doggies fans are a bit tough on him on the weekend, but just give him a bit of time because he works his ring off. He's having a red hot crack, and you could do a lot worse than him at fullback. Okay, how do we reckon Reed's gone so far this year? I mean, I reckon he started the year with a bang, then he's just been solid since.
Yeah, I think he's been solid. I don't think he's been tremendous, to be honest with you. I don't know. It's a tough one. Like, I think Reed Marnie's a very good player. I think he's a good signing, but I do watch Jeremy Marshall-King and go, geez, have they ended up with a better player? It's crazy, and I can't believe I'm saying that, but I just think JMK has been tremendous up there. But I do think that, I think Reed, and you can probably talk more about it, but from what I've heard at Canterbury, he brings a lot more than just on the field. I think he's brought a lot of professionalism to the club. From what I've heard, he's a fantastic leader off the field as well.
I think the difference may be, though, like JMK is under Wayne Bennett, and that team is kind of going quite well, whereas like Bulldogs have got the most injuries in the comp.
Yep.
Let's use an example of Reece Robson, who last year was just exceptional, getting attacking numbers all over the place, line breaks, try assists. And because the Cowboys pack has been so disappointing this year, you're like, well, Reece Robinson hasn't had the best season comparatively to last year. And that's because his pack hasn't been going forward and he hasn't had those quick play balls to work off. You look at Reed Marnie at the Dogs, who have had to get exemptions most weeks seemingly to get forwards to come up and be able to field that pack. So it's made it really difficult on Reed Marnie. And once they do get that full pack back and the yardage does start coming through the middle and they start dominating teams through the middle, you'll see Marnie come back to what I think we're expecting, what we saw earlier on in the year. So I can cut him some slack.
Now, Doggies fans, disappointing for sure. We're not denying that. There was, probably a few individuals that had not the best performances, but you'll reap the rewards as long as you stick to the plan. Now onto the Warriors. I know there'll be someone in the comments just like, they're not my favourite second team or whatever, but they're fast becoming a lot of people's second favourite team. A lot of people are really getting on board this Warriors bandwagon, and the best thing is it was even a sign in the crowd a few weeks ago saying there's room on the bandwagon. I think, it was like this stand used to be empty. There's room on the bandwagon or something along those lines. But get on it, boys, because they are just playing such good footy. They are playing exciting footy. This isn't the Warriors that I've been used to for the last 10 years. This is a new, fresh look, and they've all got on board. And I love it. I love it. Garino?
They might not be your second favourite team, but I'll tell you what, if they're not in your top 3 or 4, I've got to ask some questions about you as a person just quietly. How can you not be around what they're doing at the moment, where they've come from, the way that Sean Johnson is leading them, the way that Chance is leading, they're just a team of goers. And, they've had a lot of things go against them, which I think they've handled very well the entire season. And even when he got a bit of attention last week, it wasn't the Warriors coming out and saying it, really. So I just love the attitude they've gone in with. As I said before, they've had numerous 5-8s. Ronald Volkman played that game with a compound fracture in his finger.
Just so hectic. And I think it's, when Munster did it, because it's a similar injury, isn't it?
Yep, same injury.
When Munster did it, you go, that's the Storm.
Yep. That's
the Storm. Whereas this will because it's the Warriors in New Zealand, you won't hear much about it. It's a young fella coming through. You won't sit there and go, that's the Warriors. But that's the Warriors now. Ronald Volkman, a rookie with a compound fracture playing the whole game. That's who they are now. And it's incredible.
Compound fracture in the first half. Oh. Yeah, he would have been sitting there the other day going, you know what? I've got an opportunity to play 5-8 because Tomato Martin's injured. They've moved Dylan Walker back to the bench. They've given me a shot. Luke Metcalf's wearing my jersey in reserve grade right now. So he knew that he had to stay on the field. He had to have an impact. And credit to him. Scored a try in the second half. I still think he has got a big future.
They're a game off third in being Penrith. Bye this week, and then they play a depleted Broncos outfit in New Zealand in round 13. So they should be winning that game, which will be 4 points in the next 2 weeks. Could be top 4 in 2 weeks' time. And we know that because they're not really impacted, or they're not impacted at all through the Origin period, they can rack up some wins there.
Yeah.
Good, well placed.
Like, Warriors in the top 8, none of us had them top 8 at the start of this year.
God, no.
And none of us had them top 8 after 10 weeks. Haven't had a bye yet either. Still to come.
This week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the 5 teams ahead of them, outside of South Smarties, have all had a bye already.
And they had 3 games in 11 days. Then they go out and they beat the Doggies at home. The Doggies at home. Then they're going to have the bye. They'll freshen up. I mean, when you talk about putting yourself in a good position.
Not only do they have 3 games, 11 days, it was Melbourne, it was Penrith, it was the Roosters. So, like, they've also had a pretty tough draw, all things considered.
How outrageous is that? 3 games in 11 days, and by the way, we'll give you Melbourne, Penrith, Roosters. How's that fair? Like, I mean, I know they say some kind of algorithm does it, but that is just so outrageous. Like, any other club, if they got, like, sent the draft of that draw, would be going, mate, that's a piss take. That is, you're taking the absolute piss. But then to be the Warriors after everything they've done, 11-day turnaround, 3 games, 3 of the toughest teams in the comp, ridiculous. Anyway, and they get through it without a complaint. You don't hear anything from the squad, and this is a result of it. And I know some people sitting there going, oh, well, it was the Bulldogs. But, yeah, still, the Bulldogs have been taking it to a lot of sides this year.
Yeah.
So, yeah, great win for the Adam Fanua Blake. Seriously, if he was in any other side, he'd be essentially, top 3 front row in the game?
He's a mascot boy, and good God, I wish we could pick him for New South Wales. Kills me that we can't.
1 game for New Zealand when he about 6 years ago.
Credit to the AFB, but I wish we could have you.
Mate.
Well, Richard Villasanti played for both. I don't know about the Blues, but he didn't play for the Blues. He played for Australia and the Kiwis. So
I think Tony Carroll did it, didn't he?
Tony Carroll. So if it was that long ago, surely we can just let him in. What were you saying before the show, Campy? AFB, Payne Haas, Junior Barlow up front.
Oh, mate.
Have
Could
fun
you
with
imagine that? And then Jake Trbojevic when he's not injured.
Yeah.
Have fun with that. And then an RCG as well. Yeah. Oh, my God. It'd be interesting. I wonder if AFB would want to play Origin.
Yes.
I mean,
So he has said in the past that he would have thought about playing that 1 game for New Zealand a lot harder if it meant he couldn't play Origin.
and so was it in under 20s or something that he played for New Zealand?
It was 2017, so
Sorry, why has he not played for New Zealand at any point since then?
he's played for Tonga.
Oh,
So he
Tonga,
changed to
of course.
Tonga, and then
Right.
yeah. Sorry, what'd you say?
Was it under 20s? Was it first grade? Like, what level was it that he played New Zealand?
Oh no, he played for New Zealand, like actual New Zealand.
Actual New Zealand.
Yes, that's why.
And what was it, about 5 years ago?
2017. Yeah.
2017.
Yeah.
When was his first game for Tonga?
He would have known. Surely he would have known that he can't play Origin.
It was the World Cup year, wasn't it? When because was it Taumlolo made the call to go to Tonga and then he followed him, AFB?
I think it was Andrew Fafita followed him.
Fafita
Followed him, yeah.
So yeah, he played for New Zealand in 2017, and he played for Tonga also in 2017. So it would have been that
Was
year,
it 2018 they beat the Kangaroos? Was that 2019?
18 or 19, and he
So
played
he was there
first-
as soon as Tonga could get selected, pretty much.
Yeah,
As
yeah.
in, like, the
and he
new
played
age.
for first grade in 2016.
Get him in.
So had he not
yeah.
played for the Kiwis, he'd be sweet to play for New South Wales right now.
That's according. Look, I screwed it up with Leota last week, so I want to be very careful. But it says here on this article that in 2021 that he would have thought harder about playing that 1 game for the Kiwis because he wants to play Origin. If
Yeah,
the rules
wow.
are changed.
It's interesting what they're going to do because he grew up in Mascot. Did you say?
Yeah, he's a mascot jet, yeah.
How old was he when he got here? Does it say there? Interesting.
He
Anyway.
played from very young at
Very
mascot,
young.
yeah.
So
very
like,
young.
Wow.
you know, he's basically. I know he's not technically from Australia, but if you hear from like 7 years old, it's like, mate, you're an Aussie.
Oh. He was born in Australia.
What? Well, he's Australian then. I mean, okay, well, I mean, he's whatever he wants to be, but that's, you know what I mean? Like,
I don't care what he is, just get him in the Blues.
get him in the
Game
Blues. Wow. So he could have played for Australia. I mean, yeah, born in Australia. Wow, that's really interesting. Really interesting. Oh, man. I mean, he would have been, 16, he would have been, quite a teenager, I guess, when he played for New Zealand, instead of having someone maybe advise him, like, mate, like, you could be, I imagine him in a Blues jersey, the big fella. Anyway.
Let's stop talking about it.
Yeah. Adam Fanua Blake was outstanding. Jeez, that late step at the line, every time. Does it every time, and every time he breaks that first tackle.
It's funny too, speaking of where Fanua Blake, you know, he obviously played for the Mascot Jets. He grew up in the same team as Dylan Walker for Mascot, and he threw that pass to him, put him over.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Yeah.
How good. How good. But yeah, outside of that, Warriors, what exciting times. What exciting times. They could pick up 4 points the next 2 weeks potentially. Then all of a sudden, they may be in the top 4.
Probably.
Yeah, probably in the top 4. Well, yeah, because like Broncos would... Oh, no, because they're 2 wins behind Broncos, aren't they?
2 behind the Broncos, but they're only a game out. Like Penrith are in 3rd on 14. Warriors are 8th on 12. So they're a game out of the 4.
Game out of the 4. So they go win-win. That could be... Yeah, wow. Anyone else stand out for you guys, the Warriors?
No, I thought it was a pretty well-rounded performance.
Yeah, you're... Can't believe you haven't touched on this yet, mate, but your boy Lukey Metcalf returned into New South Wales Cup on the weekend. Only played 40 minutes, scored a try 8 minutes in. It was a cracker. Went to the line, fended off, dummied through. It was a sick try. Only played 40 minutes. Just
That's
like
why I didn't touch on it, because he only played 40 and I wasn't sure why.
I was going to give it to you, mate, but I was like,
He did
you know
score a
what?
cracking try, but I wasn't sure why he didn't play the whole game. So
I think they were just eating him.
Hope so.
Unless they're eyeing him up, but yeah, he was good.
Yeah, they would be easing him back in, surely.
Yeah.
Which, again, sign of a good club.
Great move. Especially at they're sitting 2nd or 3rd in New South Wales Cup. You know, looking right in the NRL, just no need to rush.
The only thing that worried me when I looked at it was that he didn't play 40 minutes. He played, I think it was 41, and that was the only thing that made me think, oh, shit, did he maybe get injured or something? I wasn't sure.
Okay.
Physio reach out.
There was an interview with him after the game.
Okay, sweet.
And he didn't say anything about injury. Said it was all sweet, so...
All right, a couple of store shout-outs. Plumpton Hotel Celebrations, a massive celebration superstore in the heart of Western Sydney, currently has a floor stock of Bloke Lager and selling for great prices. Get down and show your support to Cass and her team. Grab some Bloke beer. That is Plumpton Hotel Celebrations. I think they come on board right at the start. So Plumpton Hotel Celebration in the heart of Western Sydney. Get in there, grab a case. Heritage Hotel, Wilberforce, old school country pub in Hawkesbury districts, have just put a big floor stack of both lager and Bloke Mini and selling for great prices. If you're in and around the Windsor area, pop down to Heritage Hotel to see Jody and her team. Albion Park Cellars, another celebration store with a big floor stack of Bloke Lager and Bloke Midi. Gene and the team are big fans of the podcast, so get in, buy some Bloke beer for discounted prices. That's Albion Park Cellars, the legends over there. Been around for a while with us, so really appreciate the support. Grange Hotel Celebrations in Wyoming. Beautifully renovated celebration store on the Central Coast. Always selling Bloke for great prices and have a big floor stack in the cool room. Pop in and see Brad and grab some ice cold Bloke beer carton. Now, on to...
Just to further clear up AFB, pretty much bang on. But this is an article from 2021, and obviously I don't think it's changed since then, but playing for the junior Kiwis, apparently then just bang on ruled him out of Origin forever, basically. And he said that he doesn't regret it, but he didn't know it at the time. So it didn't get explained to him. So he didn't really know that would rule him out of Origin forever.
So the junior Kiwis is what ruled him out?
That's what this article says, yeah. But then he did go on to play one game for New Zealand against Scotland in 2017.
Okay. So he's referring to, I would have thought more about the junior Kiwis if I knew.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Isn't it tough though? Obviously, getting to play Origin's huge, but that's like 100K a year. It's a big decision to be forced to make when you're a teenager. That obviously people in your ear at the Kiwis would be saying, yeah, come along, all the positives about it. So,
well, and also that's where a lot of Kiwis and Polynesians, I guess, get frustrated with Aussies, where they're going, you have this huge pulling of 100 grand. So you go to all our young boys and go, do you want to play Origin or do you want to play for the Kiwis? By the way, there's a chance you might make $100,000 a year if you play Origin, whereas we don't have that pool. Now, to be fair, it is an Australian league, so we can't be, I guess, it's not a world league, it's an Australian league, so we can't be basically going, oh, well, you guys you're doing something wrong by having State of Origin and having more, I guess, appeal to other nations kind of thing. But I think the best way to fix that, and look, it's always easy to talk about other people's money, but the best way to fix that is somehow make a product that does show all of the Polynesian nations. And I think having a month of international footy whilst Origin is on would actually be the best way to do that, where they do get paid decent coin, and it is a month of madness or whatever. And whether it's a 4-week block off during Origin where all the players go play for their, because it's like over 50% now that's Polynesian or Indigenous. They go and play for their, Tonga, Samoa, PNG, and they do a round robin or whatever during Origin, and then each Wednesday is an Origin match.
A Four Nations type setup, obviously excluding Australia, and have Tonga, Samoa, Fiji, PNG.
Yep. And then everyone that isn't eligible to go and play PNG and Tonga and that goes back and plays New South Wales Q Cup, and they make that a big deal. You got a bunch of NRL players coming back. I reckon, and you just package it up as this like month of madness or whatever.
It'd be sick.
I think it'd be sick watching. Yeah, I reckon, and it would build. But anyway, that's a time for that's a topic for a different time. Alrighty, Panthers defeat the Roosters 48-4. You read that correctly. You heard that correctly. 48-4. Defeat the Roosters, who were already coming off a loss last week. This was shocking. I think I've been saying for a few weeks now, I want to see that game from the Panthers where I go, oh, shit. And I think that was the game for Panthers. This is the game where I went, oh, okay. This Panthers squad, even though they've lost their key players, has the same venom and attacking ability as their last squad. Now, I'm not saying the players are equal to what they've lost, but to go out and beat the Roosters like that, that's that scary squad that a few weeks ago, and Cam Smith brought this up, which is a really good point on the captain's run. He was like, I think that a lot of teams have lost fear of Penrith, where they go there and they already think that they're beaten. They go there now this year and go, no, we can beat this team. Whereas I think this has sent a shockwave across the NRL of going, oh, crap, like the Panthers boys are back in town and they are the team to beat. I'd still say Rabbitohs number one, but they continue on this trajectory, they are the team to beat. What do you think of this game, Guru?
I think it's fair to say form-wise the Rabbitohs, but I still think when you get to September football, the Panthers are the team to beat for me. They've been there, they've done it in many different ways. Said this the last few weeks, and so many angles you can attack this game from Panthers' perspective. Obviously, almost putting 50 points on the Roosters is unheard of, and it's not like it's a decimated Roosters side. Like, a lot of star players there.
Well, who are they missing?
Who are they missing? Egan? Who else? Sam Walker, but they were choosing not to play him.
Yeah.
No, they're pretty well full strength.
And, like, the 48 points is good, but I guarantee you the Panthers will be sitting there going, we did it again, 4 points. Defense is what's going to win us this competition. We just kept Manu, Kiri, Angus Crichton, Tedesco to 4 points.
Jeez.
Swilly.
In, like, good conditions for footy, hey?
We're missing our entire left edge.
It is honestly shocking. And, from the get-go, it was, the Roosters hung in it for the first 10 and you thought, oh, yeah, they're here to play. And then just got blown off the park. Absolutely blown off the park. Now, I know Fisher Harris came back last week, didn't he?
Yeah.
But, this week, his impact on that squad and that just the way that venom, that bite that he brings to that squad, it is just immeasurable. Well, it's measurable. It's 48 point. That's the kind of stuff that pack with that aggression can do. But I did not see this coming. I thought we'd see performances like this from Panthers maybe closer to around finals time where they've kind of like slowly built their year up towards it. But for them to come out and do this, absolutely phenomenal. What do you think, Timmy?
How about that, like, mentioned numerous times, like how good Taruva's been coming in for an injured Taylor May, who that seems like an eternity ago that he did his ACL. Tunga goes down. The return of the Peach. How's the Peach been on the left edge this season? Like since he's come back up.
Whenever the Tigers were picking Peachy in their side last year, I couldn't understand why.
Yeah.
That's how poorly I thought he was going, and then he goes and lights up the Roosters like that playing centre. Wild.
They're like Penrith and Bunnies. They seem leaps and bounds ahead of the next best in the competition at the moment, don't they? Like, you might have a Broncos or, the Roosters are battling after that. It's just Bunnies and Panthers. I think you put it really well, Guru. Bunnies are the form team, but come September, you still want to be on Penrith at the moment.
Yeah, Penrith are... Because like Broncos, they're slowly building towards being in that, I guess, discussion. But because we haven't seen them in those big matches towards the end of the year, we don't really know how they'll react. Whereas the Panthers, we know in finals footy they can get the job done. Rabbitohs, we know they can get the job done up until a point in the finals. But this Panthers side playing like this, it is shocking.
We said last week that on paper, like the Roosters roster is almost as good as it gets. Like in terms of comparing their teams to previous years, 1 to 13 in particular, it's unbelievable. And Penrith just beat them 48-4.
And it was just a complete shutout. Like it wasn't a barrage of tries at the end of the game. It was a total domination. I am so excited for the Penrith Panthers in regards to the three-peat is very alive. It is very real, and it's scary to think that as you guys have said, this is a Panthers team that has lost key players in key positions and has injuries as well, and manages to do this.
So going into this week, I was sort of interested in how the impact of Bellamy kick out on the left edge. So last season, they scored 50% of their tries, Penrith, on the left edge compared to 29% on the right. This year, leading into this week, they scored 22% of their tries on their left, 50 on the right. That is an enormous swing for a team.
Yeah.
The best thing about Penrith this week, 6 of their 8 tries came through the left edge. There was a TOTW try on the right, and the other try was a Dylan Edwards one where he sort of cut through probably nearly the middle anyway. So that left edge was just dominant again.
Yeah, far out. And Jerome Luai, what a game. Talk about the pressure that has been mounting on this kid. The pressure of, you don't deserve to be there. And the tough thing for Jerome, and I'll be honest, there is a portion of the audience that has genuine, reasonable reasons for why they would select Hines over Luai. But there is also a large portion of the fan base that just don't like Luai. So they're like, he doesn't deserve to be there regardless. Yeah. Got to bring someone in. And so you just got all this noise. And you have to remember from his perspective, he's like, I'm back-to-back winning 6. I was partly responsible in regards to I made my debut in a record-breaking defeat because that was his debut year when you guys beat us by a record margin, beat us 2 times up in Queensland. And yeah, we had a quiet year last year in regards to Origin where we got beaten, but there were plenty of players in that New South Wales side that played quietly. It wasn't just Luai. And so you got to, from his perspective, he's sitting there going like, why am I getting singled out as the... Now, to be fair, as I said, there is a portion of people say, well, the reason for the singling out is because you've got a guy in Hines who is the Dally M player of the year that could play in your position. But what a response from Luai.
Yeah,
what a
and
response.
And then let's add in, took Samoa to a World Cup final as a 7.
Yes.
So it's like, well, I'm not completely relying on Nathan Cleary and these blokes around me, am I?
Yeah.
Can I just take you back even further? He made his under-20s debut, 2015. Penrith won the comp that year. He then went to New South Wales Cup. They won the comp in 2017. He then went to first grade and they went grand final in 2020 into back-to-back premierships into Samoa.
Jesus.
Call him what you want. He's a winner.
And that's it. It's like around me, like I'm saying that I want Nico at 6. Firstly, I'm not upset if Luai's 6. I'm happy for him to be there. It's just that Nico's been so incredible. I'm like, eventually the pen's got to drop where you get him in there. But if it's Luai, I'm like, sweet.
Just another thing to add to Luai, and I've mentioned it before, but add on top of all that, he replaced James Maloney.
Yeah. Yeah. And they chose to keep him over Burton. And so I'm not sitting here saying that, every week last year he was killing it and just, as good as Munster or whatever. But the game, at least on the weekend, he was as good as any 6 in the competition. He was absolutely electrifying. I think that, depending on how he plays this week, but I think that this game goes a long way to almost cementing. You'd almost cement him in that 6, at least for game 1. Be a brave man to break up that combination.
I think he can lock himself in against the Broncos this week at Suncorp.
Yeah. Yep.
Because you'd be pretty brave to break that up, regardless of how incredible Nico is. You'd be pretty brave to break that up.
It's wild. Honestly, 5 days ago, I must have been the bravest guy in the world because I was ready to break it up.
Yeah, ready to do it.
I was. Then I sat there and watched that game, and at halftime I went, shit. Nope.
But to be fair, he has been a little bit quiet this year.
Yep.
To be fair, it's not like he's been playing the house down and he's just not getting a look in. But the game on the weekend, holy moly, he was good. He was electric. A try, 2 try assists, 135 metres, 11 tackle breaks, 2 line break assists, an offload, 14 tackles, no misses.
And I mean, he was so electrifying the other day, and that's when you've got Tyrone Peachey at left centre, and as good as he was, Scotty Sorensen on that left edge. Imagine when you give him Cam Murray and Latrell.
Well, that's what we saw what he did with Latrell. Latrell basically was player of the series that year, and his 6 was Jerome.
Yeah.
Okay, and it started from word go, because in that game 1 up in Townsville, I'm pretty sure, one of the first sets, we're going tit for tat. Luai just goes, gets the ball, he spins a long ball to Latrell. Latrell goes, bang, thanks, see you later, runs the field, and then we're under the pump for the rest of the series, pretty much. Luai was outstanding. I still can see a case for Hines coming in at 6. There'll be people that will say, well, hang on a sec, this is just one game. Don't get ahead of yourself. But I think it's a little bit more than just one game. I personally, I think I'm locked into you keep Luai there, you give him game 1 and you put Hines at 14. But I would be happy either way.
I'm going to put a lot of weight on this Thursday night against the Broncos. I really am.
Well, I'm Hines, but if he comes out and kills Brisbane this week and he's just gone Roosters, Brisbane, back-to-back, leading into Origin with your spot under pressure, that could flip me.
What do you reckon, Matty?
Yeah. Definitely before last week I was Hines, but I understand why. I fully understand why it will be Luai. I still think it should be Nicho Hines, to be honest. And
Yep.
I guess it all kind of depends as well on where everyone else is and like who can be fought. If they're not going to run with two hookers, which I don't know if they will, but I just think it's better for like everyone, better for the team if Nicho is at 6 and then we have someone like Matty Burton at 14 who can cover a lot of positions. Because I think Nicho at 14, is a bit of a waste because he can. Yes, he can play fullback, but so can half the back line. He can play 6, but that's really it. Like you just pick him. If you're going to pick him, I reckon pick him at 6. That's just what I think. But I completely understand why they're going Luai.
Well, Hines can play. I'd argue probably anywhere in the back line, but a big one that a lot of people aren't considering is he can play 7. And if Cleary goes down with a HIA or something, then who do you have that can do that? And look, I understand whereas when you look at that Queensland lineup, Ben Hunt just bombs straight in there.
But then I think if he goes down with a HIA and he's the 5'8", I'd just put Burton at 6.
You put Burton at 6 and then move him to 7?
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's the 5'8". Sorry, I thought I'm not talking about him as a 14.
Oh, okay. Right.
As why apart, like it's huge insurance for your fullback. I know other people can play fullback, but you definitely know you can just slot him straight in there. He's a huge insurance for Cleary. He's a huge insurance for Luai. Probably could he play 13, or do you think probably body not?
I think he could handle himself there, but
he could, but then we wouldn't need him anyway because we got Cam as a backup 13. So
and then you'd put Hines. Let's say 13 went down, you put Hines to the edge and Cam in the middle.
Well,
anyway, these are all bloody.
It doesn't. Yeah.
These are, imagine the depth of steps that they have to go down to as selectors of like, what if this happens? What if this happens? What if this happens? What if this happens? Because you have to look at it. Perfect example, Teddy, HIA, Game 3, 2020 or whatever it was. And, the yarn was maybe have Paps on the bench at 14 and they didn't. And I think people are a bit unfair on Freddie with that because it's like, where else can Paps really play other than fullback? Maybe through the middle a little bit, but he probably couldn't defend in the front line.
I do feel like that situation was the perfect storm.
That's what I'm saying.
Like Freddie, yeah.
Yeah, like it'd be what? So you're putting him on the bench just in case Teddy gets injured.
Yeah.
Like where else can you play him?
If your hooker goes down, you lose it because of that. Everyone's going, oh, hold on.
Yeah, but he got smashed for that. Yeah. Whereas the Jackie White one, I could understand the frustration with that because even on this show we were saying, mate, put him on the edges, put him on the bench as a big forward. Like he's big, he'll get through it.
Yeah.
But the Tedesco Pappy one I didn't get. But yeah, the Hines Luai argument. Either way, someone is unfairly done by it in a regard. You know what I mean? Hines, Dally M winner, killing it. Luai, back-to-back premiership winner. Let's say he holds this form. It's tough either way, man. It really is.
And, if I was, as I said, for the last few weeks, I have been Team Nicho Hines. Then Jerome Luai came and had that game. And it just made me sat down and think about it. And, if you were being real Jerome Luai tunnel there's an argument there that Luai's done it in final series. He's done it in grand finals. Nico's won a Dally M, yes, but on the big stages in finals and everything, he's 0-2 with his team.
Yeah, it's a fair point. And also, Luai's done it in Origin series as well.
Yeah.
I do think it does get clouded a bit with Luai the personality and Luai the actual player.
Yeah, 100% it does.
If he was a really likeable player, do you reckon there'd be this much noise about him?
I don't think so.
But Nico is like beloved, and obviously Luai has his detractors. But huge raps on Luai in regards to the mental fortitude to respond like that. Incredible. And he's just such a good representation of, you don't count the boys from the West out. Like these boys are a bit different. This crew of boys, this culture at this club, it's different. It's different. Outside of that, Cleary, once again, Jesus. Liam Martin, when he came on, was on an absolute mission. He was a missile. Seriously, like a missile. He was shotting the front rowers. He wasn't going for edge back rowers or little fellas. He was going for the big boys in the middle, straight through the guts. I mean, I wonder whether he starts next week because Sorensen was so good. You got Hoskins on the other edge who's been so consistent. You'll probably start him, don't you?
I think they will start him. Yeah, I think
to help with his Origin cause as well.
For sure, and that's it. Leading into Origin, he'll be going, I want to start, I want to play big minutes. Not that Freddie'd have too many concerns over him, but he has missed a decent chunk through injury, so come in, he'll kill it, and he'll be our starting edge for the Blues.
And I think, well, for me anyway, I've wanted to play Cam Murray off the bench for the Blues. I want to have him through the middle. But the problem is you'd then have to essentially pick two debutants, unless you go for like a Tyson Brazil or someone, which I think there's a chance Freddie does. But my worry was going Hudson Young and Olaquata as debutants. Assuming Liam Martin wasn't available, now that he is, I'd be happy to pick him on either edge.
Yeah. It's strange because wasn't Tyson Brazil not even put in the squad last year? And I think we were talking about it going, why wouldn't you even just bring him for experience? And now he's back in the chat of being selected again.
Did he not? I thought he made the squad in game one. And I remember thinking, geez, that's odd. Why wouldn't you just give it to a young guy? If he's
it was reversed. Yeah. We were saying bring in a young guy. And who were we saying to bring in?
I can't remember.
Oh,
was
I
it
can't
Hudson
remember.
Maybe?
Might have been Hudson.
Yeah.
Anyway, we were talking about
Hudson or Lane.
Okay, well that makes sense. That makes sense then. So I like that from Freddie then in regards to, I'll say I was probably wrong in regards to bringing a young guy in because Tyson was still very much in the frame.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was picked in the game one squad, but not two or three.
Not two or three. Yeah, and I think, you're right. We were talking about, well, why not just put a young guy in there? What's the point of bringing Tyson there because he's already been there so many times, you don't need to give him experience. But he's still in the frame and, geez, he's been good for the Newey Knights. Holy.
At the same time, part of me would love to have Liam Martin on one edge, Hudson Young on the other. It's just got Origin written all over it, which I would love.
Yeah, it's a tough one. It's such a tough call because, we'll see. We'll see. Anyway, back to the Panthers.
It works as well because Martin, he can play both edges, but he's right edge back rower essentially. He's got that combination with Cleary on the right, and then Hutto's a left edge back rower, so it works.
Because if you were going Hutto too, got to be handy to have Jack White.
Thought you say Jared Croker.
Jared Croker on there, outside of that, Taruva, outstanding. Tyro Peacher, outstanding. To'o, always outstanding. Seriously, barely ever plays a bad game. It's like always this bizarre thing with To'o. He's a smaller winger, so they'll just kick crossfield bombs to him. Yet no team does. And also, he never struggles under the high ball. He defies convention. The convention is small winger, has all this upside when he runs the ball because he's so strong, but he's going to get out-leaped all the time. When was the last time you saw To'o get out-leaped?
I remember his Origin debut, I was very sceptical going, I love To'o, but had some lank dog on him, and he's just going to leap over him all the time. And he just muscled him with the body. Didn't look like getting beaten in the air.
So good.
So good.
And look, I know listeners are going to be like, hey, round 11, he was out-leaped to it. I'm just saying, on a regular basis, it's not an issue.
I loved coming into this game. The Roosters bench was Cheese, Tupanua, Matt Lodge, and I thought, geez, without Spencer Leniu and with Scott Sorensen starting, the Chooks could really get him in that post 20, 25 minute mark. They didn't get near them. If anything, the Panthers might have got better when their bench came on the field, which was unbelievable.
Man, I'm telling you, this front row pairing of Panthers, they're almost like the best, well, not almost, they're probably the best front row pairing big game players there is. Every time it gets to the biggest game possible, they're the ones that dominate the game. Grand final, dominated. Obviously, the last couple of grand finals have dominated. All the big games, except for some throughout the year where it takes a RCG junior polo to put it over them. They barely ever get dominated in big games, ever. So good. There's that game, Penny Panthers, a game we've been waiting for, and by God did they deliver. Oh, my God. Scotty Sorensen, we've already spoken about him, but geez Louise, what a game. Thoughts about the 9 role? Do you think that they're getting closer to sorting that out? Or Mitch Kenny getting more reps there? Or
Yeah, I still believe that Sonny Luke's not 100%. He's got this hamstring injury that apparently just won't go away. So... I don't know what to make of it. And this is, I've been saying this for weeks, but this has been the reality of Sonny Luke. He's only played 60, 70 New South Wales Cup games in the last 5 or 6 years because he has always had a couple of niggling injuries, and I think they're very keen just to manage him through and get him through to September because they know how important he's going to be come the back end.
Okay, anything else on the Panthers?
All good.
Now, on to the Roosters. Wow. Look, yes, it is only round 11, but this is a disaster loss. This is really, really bad times for the Roosters. The problem is I don't see them any closer to answers. If anything, I feel like they've gotten further away from answers. Yes, on paper, their roster is incredible, and I don't think they have a culture issue at all. I think culture is the wrong word. But I just do feel like they don't all seem to be headed in the same direction at times. They've got really good, strong individual efforts. There's very rarely could you say a Rooster goes out there and doesn't have a red-hot crack. They all have a red-hot crack. Whereas some other teams you can see, mate, you did not put in. Whereas a Rooster, very rarely that happens. But when you look at this side, and obviously we talked about on paper, they're so good, the admin, the club is incredibly well run. They know how to win. But on the field right now, they just do not seem to be heading in the same direction. And I think that it's actually going to take a few players taking a step back for them all to take a step forward. Because right now, it's just not working. It's just not working. And they have way too good of a roster to be getting even close to this scoreline. And also this year, although they have fought tooth and nail and kind of kept themselves in the hunt, and I think at the moment they're still, what are they? They're just outside the 8. So win-wise, they will be able to claw themselves back in if they go on a bit of a run later in the year. But it does come to a point where for a couple of years we've been saying, all right, well, they're slow starters, 2018 slow starters. Then they're normally slow starters, so we kind of accept it as okay. But there comes a point where, in an ideal world, being a slow starter is not a good thing. And so you can't be it every single year. And they've proven over the last few years that being a slow starter costs them the top 4 spot. So I actually think that if the Roosters continue down this path for the next 4 matches or so, I think we could see seismic changes at the club.
They take on the Dragons this week. Who's having a shitter week, the Dragons or the Roosters? It's a hot field.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's about to get shitter for the Dragons, I reckon.
Chooks, you just never see this team concede that many points. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I would assume that's the most points they've conceded since the 2016 season or something along those. Against South, so I could see maybe jump out of his skin then. But outside of that, I mean, I know they conceded more points to South Sydney, but that defensive effort was awful for them. By their standards, that was just outrageous. And it was obviously made worse. You had Joey Manu get injured. You had JWH get injured.
Coming off a 20-6 loss to the Cowboys.
Yep. We sort of laughed a bit when you said it last week, Kempy, but you said it with substance, and that was like having too many stars and not knowing what to do with them because they all want to be the highlight reel players. And you summed it up well there saying they're all having a crack, but is there too many stars in one team? At least strike weapons rather than stars, because you can have 13 stars but all play a role. I think they're all just on a different page at the moment, and it'll be very interesting to see what the team list comes out as tomorrow and if there are some wholesale changes. Not wholesale changes, but we touched on a handful that we all probably would have made last week, and it didn't happen. Will it happen this week? And that's Sully to the wing. It's, we sort of mentioned maybe Joey Manu back to centre, Sammy Walker back to the halves, but Sammy Walker's under an injury cloud as well at the moment. He might not be available. Joey Manu, it looked like it was only a rolled ankle, so it might not be anything too extensive, but it's not looking any better for them.
Even if Walker's not available this week, I would be moving Manu to centre.
Yeah.
I'd just play Hutcher. Play someone
I would too.
He
could be exactly what they need, and just like a stable bloke who's not trying to steal the show or overplay his hand, who'll just give the star talent around him good ball.
Well, the year that they came 5th and they were decimated by injury, the hardest pairing was Walker, Hutchison for most of the year.
Yep.
And like when you look at that compared to the stars they've got currently, you'd go Walker, rookie year essentially, Hutchison just a battler. I think there needs to be a major shift in the way they approach their footy, the way they go. Okay, look at the Panthers. Everyone plays their role perfectly, and I think that you could look at them and go, sure, there's a few players in that side that could go, well, I actually want more runs or I want more this. Whereas with the Roosters, I just don't think that, as I said, individually they're ripping and tearing and having a red hot crack, but as a team, there just does not seem to be any cohesion whatsoever.
Well, I feel like in the pre-season, one thing we've been vindicated for, at least at this point, is we were all a bit sceptical of the Brandon Smith signing. No knock on how good Cheese is as a footballer, but just that they didn't need another, again, strike weapon in this side. Like they could have used someone like Jake Turpin, who's a solid signing would have been peanuts comparatively, who can just go and distribute early and give good ball. And I think so far that's proven correct.
I think when you look at them on the weekend, they had a centre playing 5'8". In my opinion, they had a middle forward playing hooker, and they had a 5'8" playing halfback.
Yeah, I think, because I've thought about it a lot, it's like, what is happening there? I reckon when the game shifted in 2020 so quickly on everyone, I think that, and this is just a vibe feeling, maybe stats wouldn't back it up, but I think maybe Robbo has swung too heavily towards the shifting of the game, and he hasn't been able to kind of counter swing back because the game actually has swung back closer to what it was in 2018 and 19. Like 2020, we saw this just like rule changes, the game completely opened up. And what did it suited? It suited a bunch of ball runners all through the middle, heaps of pace, heaps of tackle breaks, to just the speed of the play of the ball is so quick. And then over the last couple of years, all the rule changes have come back, and now the game is much closer to pre-2018. And I wonder whether, pre-2020, and I wonder whether Roosters went too far down the track of, well, this is the new version of the game. We need to sign this player, this player, this player, and we'll dominate in that fashion maybe. That's the kind of feeling I'm getting.
It's hard to, because in 2020, when all that was going down, they handed the keys to Sam Walker. And he played some of the most expansive footy we've ever seen, which I'm now looking at going, geez, did Sam Walker miss out on 2 or 3 years of key development where he should have been learning how to play the style the Roosters want to play now? Because I feel like Walker's a real scapegoat at the moment. I feel sorry for him.
Well, he's clearly not the problem. He's clearly not the problem.
The problem. Don't tell me he's the problem.
He's been dropped for 2 or 3 weeks.
And they've lost
They
both.
just beat the Dragons, who we know how they're going, and then they got pumped by the Cows and pumped by the Panthers.
Yeah.
So Sam Walker's not the issue.
I mean, another really alarming thing, and maybe he's carrying injury because it was, he's such a team player. Tedesco, this is the most unlike Tedesco performance I've ever seen in my life. He had 12 runs, 104 metres, 1 tackle break. Like, I can't. When was the last time you saw Teddy have that kind of amount of runs? And look, yes, they had much less possession. Yes, they, were against a side that completed at, 85% or 89%, I think, actually. And the Roosters completed at 68%. I mean, that's how ruthless the Panthers were. They completed at 89%. Talk about ruthless. Oh, my God. But the bizarre thing is that the Roosters roster, on paper, you could make an argument, is better than the Panthers one. take Cleary out of that team, there's an argument to be had that Roosters roster is better on paper.
That forward pack, JWH, Cheese, Lindsay Collins, Angus Crichton, Nat Butcher, Victor Radley. Then off the bench, they had Tupanua and Matt Lodge. A team like that shouldn't get beaten by 18.
Did you say Crichton as well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Angus. Crazy.
Get a load of this. So you talk about Teddy with 104 metres. Tom, I say there's a glitch on the NRL website. Kick return metres. Wingers, Corey Allen, 24. Jackson Barlow, 34. James Tedesco, 2.
Wow.
2 metres. Again, if it's a glitch, sort your shit out, NRL.com. But assuming it's not, that shows where was this game of footy played? All basically in the Roosters half and in their 20.
Yeah, wow.
Or like it didn't get to fifth tackle and they just cut through them.
Yeah.
That's
shocking.
Unbelievable.
That is truly shocking. So I don't know what else there is to say. It's just, unfortunately, at the Roosters right now, it's just not good enough.
I'm really excited to see team list this week.
Yeah.
But at the same time, how many options do they have?
Well, what are you going to do? Like, what message can you send?
Yeah, which of these international forwards are you going to drop? Especially now that JWH is out. And, if they don't want to play Hutcho in the halves, what do you do with Sam Walker injured?
If Walker and Manu are out, I'd go Suoliti to the wing, Allen out. It's not Corey Allen's fault they're losing again, but I'll do that. And if they're both out, I'd go Drew Hutchison in the halves and just say, all right, Luke, here, it's your show, and just see how it goes. And if Joe Manu is available, I'd go him to centre and Suoliti to the wing.
I think the one shining light has been Billy Smith the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, he's been
He
outstanding.
looks fantastic.
Just on the Roosters, not to make excuses or anything, but I will say we said about the Warriors last week. They play this Friday. 4 games ago was the Anzac Day game, so they've had 4 games in 19 days. So that's a game every 4.5 days. That's a 5-game turnaround, worse than a 5-game turnaround for 4 weeks, pretty much. So they do have that.
Yeah. I mean, it's hectic for sure. Absolutely.
They'll take your South membership off you for that.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely not favourable, that's for sure. Put it this way, if they had have performed really strongly the first couple of weeks of that, and then the last game or 2 they got pumped, I would be like, yeah, that could play a part in it. And it clearly has played a part in it. But the fact that they got beaten by Cowboys, they only just squeezed past the Dragons, and then they got tailed up by the Panthers. It's like clearly that there's more problems at the Roosters. And as I said, I think they're easily top 2 run clubs in the comp, top 3 minimum. Incredibly well-run club. They know how to win. They've been doing it for so long. They've been on top for so long. It's not a roster issue. We know Trent Robinson can coach, but I do think that they, as I said, they may need to take a step back individually to take a step back, 2 steps forward as a team.
Hutcho in reserve grade in a loss to the Panthers, 1 try, 20 runs, 127 metres, 5 tackle breaks, 22 tackles, 1 missed.
Love it.
Yeah, maybe. And again, that what's so shocking about it is a couple of years ago they were decimated with injury. They came 5th. So it's a really long season, but I do think that very rarely would we give this many clubs this much like, oh, it's a slow start. But the positive is, as I said, they're actually, a win outside the 8? The internet's bloody not working here. Could you check that for us, Matty? They're a win outside the 8. The top 8 is so congested. That makes them, two wins from the top 4. So their season can turn around quickly, but real concerns. They haven't really fired a shot since 2019. Where are they on the ladder?
Oh, sorry.
And how many wins are they outside the 8?
So they're on 10. They're at 10th. They're sitting 12th, but the Warriors are 8th, and they're also got 12 points. So they're one win. They're in the 8 on 4 and against, basically.
So they've got the same wins as in the top 8, but their 4 against has put them outside the 8?
Yeah, they've had a bye, so it's 1 win less, and that's what skews it. But yeah, the Warriors are on 12 competition points. The Roosters are on 12 competition points. So the Warriors are in the 8.
At this stage, it takes 2 good games and their season's turned around pretty much.
I know it's obviously coming off the back of a huge loss, but their 4 and against at the moment is at -65. That's the 3rd worst in the competition.
Wow.
Only the Bulldogs and the West Tigers are worse. The Dragons are -47.
Wow.
Well, they've got the 2nd worst attack in the NRL. Tigers are last on 13.6 points per game scored. Roosters are 15.7.
Wow, that's damning stats. I mean, their defensive stats are pretty good, though, I think, when you look at them.
Yeah, well, they're obviously skewed by that one. But, yeah.
So
It's interesting on the ladder. If you have a look, the top 6 teams have positive for and against. Everyone else is negative except for Parramatta in 14th, who are plus 24. So Parramatta have the 5th best for and against in the league at the moment. They're 14th.
Oh, my God.
wow.
Yep.
Wow. So, yeah, if this continues, I definitely think there's going to be huge changes at the clubs. Let's say they continue down this route. Do you think 2024, this squad looks a lot different?
I think so. Yeah, and I think it could. I don't know. I said last week we never ask any questions about Luke Keary. I mean, does Robbo start to get questions?
He has to.
Well, I think Robbo does get questioned for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I know I've said it a number of times, but like if you look at the case study of Victor Radley, it's the best lock in the game 3 or 4 years ago, and he's progressively gone downhill doing the same thing every single year. Nothing's changed there. Luke Keary hasn't. I know he's had head knocks and everything, but he hasn't been overly impressive since they won in 18-19. They've been through 2 young halfbacks now who are meant to be stars. The question's got to be, and constantly we're sitting here watching Joey Manu play 5'8", going, it stunts everything.
There was a period there where I thought that he could be a 5'8" for them, but I just think that they're so far away from like a structured game plan at the moment that it's just too hard to put him there because.
And I think he takes away from the Roosters, but I also think you take away from Joey Manu too, because you're making him think not like Manu. You're trying to make him sort of ball play. He tries to fit in, and it just doesn't work.
He's never been a 5'8", never will be, and you wonder why Teddy's going terribly by his standards. Granted, Teddy had a slow start to the season before Joey moved to 5'8", but Teddy gets killed off with Joey at 5'8".
In attacking footy for sure.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So Roosters, it is the pressure is absolutely building, and right now after that defeat, oh man, and it's almost ironic because that Sam Walker call, it's like a big elephant in the room in regards to like the Roosters didn't say it was his fault, and I'm not saying that they even internally think it's his fault. But he was the face of, or he's getting dropped. This is the reason for. As I said, I'm sure internally they were going, he's the reason we're losing. But outward looking, it was such a big story, and there's been no reaction from the playing group. There's been no, Sam's been dropped. We're all not safe. It's just if anything, it's gotten worse.
The Raiders won't treat him like that next year.
I think we could be. If they don't turn it around, we could be seeing some quite dramatic scenes at the Roosters. Because right now, as I personally believe, they got too many stars. It sounds so stupid and so bizarre, but there's so many guns in that side. It's crazy.
I really want to see the impact that a role player in Hutcho would have.
Yeah, and have Turpin and Cheese rotating.
Yeah.
Like Cheese on for first 20, bring on Turpin, put Cheese in the forward somewhere, get him to go skits, and then if you want to put him back at 9, because like people say, oh, he's not a 9, he's not a 9. He did win Dally M at 9, but I'm pretty sure the year he did win Dally M at 9, he was rotating with Harry Grant. And so I'm pretty sure that's correct.
Yep.
Yeah, rotating with Harry Grant. So he does need a partner in crime. And I think that obviously Jake Turpin isn't Harry Grant, but what it can do, it can give him the time to have those runs as a forward without having to worry about being the ball player for the whole 80 minutes.
I've always said when I say that, I think Cheese is a fantastic red zone 9, but it's the other 80 metres in the field that I just don't think he has what it takes at hooker. I really don't. And you go back to that season, like he won Dally M hooker because he scored 11 tries or something. Go back and watch those 11 tries.
And also he had a spine that actually fully promotes his style of footy.
Yep.
You got Pappenhausen, Munster, Hughes, all off the cuff, front foot players, don't need to be that structured. Basically you've got 3 fullbacks in your spine and a ball running, whereas obviously the Roosters don't have that. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens to the Roosters, but that is a disaster, unfortunately, that loss to the Panthers. Now, on to the Rabbitohs defeating the Tigers 20-0. I would say there are some people who go, the score doesn't really reflect the game. I agree to an extent, but I think that this game reflected for the Rabbitohs this new look Rabbitohs that is willing to hang in clashes, willing to fight till the end. I think a few years ago, if they didn't get off to good starts, all of a sudden they'd be looking for points straight away. I think this is such an important win for the Rabbitohs to just reinforce that we can just grind games out. We don't need to score 1 million points in the first half. We don't need to go crazy. Yes, the Tigers and a lot of other teams would start panicking, going, oh my God, bottom of the table is taking it to the form team. The Rabbitohs didn't panic for a second. And what happened? By the end, the points all came. They just poured in. I thought this was a really good performance by the Rabbitohs, and it could have been such an easy game to turn into a dogfight where they're throwing passes to get points, cut out balls there, kicks here, because they're panicking that they're not toweling the Tigers up by 20 points or whatever. They stayed so calm and just said, no, we back our grind. The points will come, and they did come.
I don't have the exact quote in front of me, but I love what Latrell said after the game. So he said, this was the game we needed. Didn't come easy. We just had to hang in. We just had to stick to our structures, and the points will come. And they did, of course, in the back end. I agree with you. I thought South Sydney were the better team all along. I never felt like the West Tigers were going to win this game, despite courageously hanging in it the entire way. And I think it was 6-0 with 8 minutes to go. So credit to the Tigers on that front. But this was, I love Latrell's comments in that South Sydney know who they are. They are the team that can score 1 million points on any given day. But they want to be the team that can get into a dogfight and just stick to their game until then they can lay points on, which I thought was great to see.
Timmy?
Yeah, at the start of the season, if you said, let's pick apart the Bunnies, you'd sort of say, or their roster, maybe a little light on for forwards, certainly light on for forward depth. How would they cope when they're missing key forwards? Well, they've had a stack of injuries to their pack this season, and after 11 rounds, they're sitting in first place with the second best defence in the competition. Like, Matty over there would be absolutely humming, and Bunnies fans could not be happy with this because you mentioned the resilience they've shown, and we know they've got points in them, but could they do it defensively? Could they do it defensively? Light on forwards. They've been brilliant, so couldn't be happier for them. And the Tigers, I think I mentioned a week or two ago that the Warriors lost to the Roosters, possibly the best performance I've seen from a team who didn't score a point. Tigers, in terms of where the Tigers are at, probably not far off that one. It might have eclipsed it.
Yeah, I was. Tigers fans should be incredible. Like, how much points do you think is really the difference between two sides as squads? It's about 20 points. Like, if Tigers are having a red hot crack and Rabbitohs have a red hot crack, when you look at those squads on paper, you'd go probably about a 20-point difference, I reckon.
And then you put the conditions, a dry 3 p.m. day game where the Bunnies complete at 85% and they'd scored one try after 71 minutes or something.
And so I think Tigers fans should be... This is exactly where you're at. And it sounds bizarre. We got beaten 20-0. It sounds bizarre. But, like, you can only ask your team to deliver where they're at right now. You can't ask them to, week in, week out, play above themselves. The Dolphins... The reason why the Dolphins story is so crazy and we all make such noise about it is because they're over-competing and we're going, wow, where did this come from? Whereas I think Tigers fans should be pretty happy with his performance because, as I said, Rabbitohs are not only the form team in the comp, they're on top of the table. The Tigers are at the bottom of the table. They held them to 6-0 for most of the match, and 20 points on paper is probably what their rosters are compared to each other. So, yeah, I think it's incredible for both. Both teams were winners in my eyes in regards to, and I know Tigers fans and probably non-Tigers fans and non-Rabbitohs fans are going to go, are you serious? But one's on top of the table, one's at the bottom of the table. What were we just talking about? We're talking about Panthers Roosters, and it was 48 to 4. I mean, and you got one Roosters that were premiership favourites at the start of the year versus a Panthers side that had yet to really put together an 80-minute performance. And then, so I think Tigers made a real good showing of themselves. But Rabbitohs, for me right now, they're favourites to mine a premiership. Just when you look at their draw, when you look at the run that they have, as long as they stay injury-free, obviously it's a long year in rugby league, but they are looking the best they've looked. I think that this is the best they've looked at this time of year since 2014.
Yeah, and they do have a good history of going on this incredible run during the mid-season, but they've started this from round one.
Well, and that's the thing. Rabbitohs, always known as, they're the up and down side. Like, they'll go on a run, so don't ever count them out. They've removed that and become an even better version of themselves. And I know it's their arch rival, so it's like rubbing salt into the wounds. But this is kind of where you would want the Roosters to be right now. If anything, the Roosters should kind of be where the Rabbitohs are right now in regards to they've gotten rid of this slow starter stuff. Their roster is crazy, and they're just super consistent in defence and attack. But it's the Rabbitohs that have taken that next step into a top-tier club.
And they've got themselves in a position now where we mentioned with a few other sides and having the fortune of being able to rest players over the origin period if they need to. So Cam Murray, Damien Cook, if he gets selected, Latrell Mitchell, if they, get battered in origin and have a quick turnaround and they want to sit them and give them a spell, they can do it. If they're sitting 8th or 9th, no, we need to win games because we need to make the top 8. Well, when you're top of the table going into the origin period, then you've got that, the good fortune.
Actually, some cool stats from this game, or from multiple games, but my bloody internet's working. Not working. Jesus. Okay, no, it's working now. How good? Okay, so Cam Murray, 52 tackles, 0 misses. Last week, Cam McInnes, 59 tackles, 0 misses. The week before, the Butcher brothers, Egan and Nat, combined for 110 tackles, 0 missed. Like, we are seeing some absolutely mammoth defensive efforts that are not getting talked about quite a lot. Remember when the games rules changes and we saw 4 try assists, 3 tries, and these mental attacking stats, we're all going, holy. But I don't, and maybe it's happened before me, but I don't recall a time where you see week after week players making 50 to 60 tackles and not missing any, week after week. That's usually once in a blue moon.
It's almost, in the unfairest way possible, it's almost becoming less impressive because it's happening all the time and we're just taking it for granted, I think.
Yeah. 52 tackles and 0 missed.
Alex Twal, 37 tackles, 1 miss.
Oh, no. Bad game from Toll. Bad game.
He'll be filthy with himself.
Get rid of him. And it's happening week after week. And I don't think enough credit gets... it definitely... Defence doesn't get talked about enough. It's literally half the game. But enough credit to good instinctual defenders. And guys like the Butcher brothers, obviously, guys like Cam Murray, Cam McInnes, these are good instinctual defenders. They rarely miss. I mean, the job, I always bring it up, the job Cam Murray did on Day for Feeder that year was outstanding. Anyway, let's just get into some performances by the players. As we discussed, Cam Murray, 52 tackles, 0 misses. I think he also ran for 122 metres. Cody Walker on an absolute tear. Who stood out for you?
Campbell Graham for me. Once again, I know he's in our team of the week again. He's just at the peak of his confidence right now. And I think that's one thing the Tigers can take away from this. Even the 2 tries they conceded in the last 10 minutes. One was Campbell Graham, just being the biggest and most confident guy on the field. And the other one was exactly the same. Latrell Mitchell on the other side, just get one-on-one with a smaller guy and either come up with a try or an offload.
I love that from Trell, where he just went, I'm going for a run here. Whereas, I think maybe last year he'd be more focused on the passing. He just said, nah, brah, I'm the biggest, strongest player in the comp.
He had Cody Walker with him too. He could have given it everything he wanted. He just went, nah, I'll just do it myself.
Yeah.
Freak.
Mate, unbelievable. Timmy, who stood out for you?
Tane Milne, who sort of came into that as keeping the seat warm for Isaac Thompson. Thompson had an injury and Tane Milne's now won that spot as far as I'm concerned. He 270 metres on the weekend. We mentioned even sort of, was it last year and last couple of years, maybe their back three were a little bit small at times and their yardage coming out of their own end, possibly a bit of a downfall for them. Well, now they've got Tane Milne running for 270 metres, a pair of tries, 3 line breaks. So I think, at least for the time being, when you've got a bloke who has spent time in the last 18 months playing back row in New South Wales Cup and even in the NRL, not a bad spot to be in. So, yeah, Tane, it was great.
Meanwhile, Isaac Thompson scored his 3rd try with 3 minutes to go on the clock in reserve grade to win the game for South Sydney.
Jeez, they're in a good spot. And then when we do get to the back end of the season through this origin period, we keep touching on it, but because they have had injuries through the pack, it's just got minutes into all these fringe players or bench players, so they're just so well placed.
Yeah, what do you reckon, Matty?
Yeah, just to add to the list of players who played well, I thought our starting 2 front rowers, Totola and Sele, were good, especially because Tommy Burgess got ruled out in the warm-up, I'm pretty sure. And then he got replaced by Taff. Jed Cartwright lasted about 2 or 3 minutes, and Jairo got HR'd as well. So a few extra minutes for the forwards. But, yeah, those two, I know they've both been in and out of the team with injury. If they can stay on the field, they've been great for South all year. So, yeah, they've been good.
Just on their New South Wales Cup team that I just mentioned, they were down 22-2 at half-time, and they won 26-22.
Wow.
24-0 in the second half to win that one.
Whoa.
Far out. Oh, my God. Yeah, so Rabbitohs. And what's bizarre is, like, I feel like they've kind of flown under the radar a little bit. We haven't been... Heading into this year, there wasn't much hype around the Rabbitohs. Did you feel any, or where did you have them placed?
Oh, same as ever. I had them as a prelim too.
Yeah.
But now I'm looking at them going, they can win a comp.
I think, where do we have them placed? Top 6 maybe? Or top 8?
We all had them around the top 6. Yeah. Yeah, anywhere from like third to 6, I think.
Yeah, wow.
From memory.
I mean, they've exceeded my expectations. I didn't think they'd look this well rounded. I thought we'd see a typical Rabbitohs year where it's like up and down, up and down, up and down. Now, it still could turn into that year, but right now, they look ready.
I think their biggest test is that they look fantastic right now. They have to look this good in 20 weeks' time, which I think is going to be their biggest test. What was the year you came out? Was it 15 or 16? The first 10 weeks you looked absolutely untouchable.
So 2015, and obviously this is a joke. Like, I didn't believe this, but so South won the comp in 14, won the World Club Challenge, won the Charity Shield, won every game of the Nines, and then won the first like 7 games of 2015. And there was like people saying, are they ever going to lose another game ever again? But yeah,
like, those first 7 games, they were the best footy you played in that 2-year period.
Oh, it was crazy. It was like back to back. Let's go. And then just fell off a cliff. Ended up coming 7th, I think. Yeah.
Far out. Surely they've moved past that because like they're doing this with they've done this with injuries. Tom Burgess injured. Like any Rabbitohs team over the past few years without Tom Burgess is nowhere near. They don't hold a candle on the team. But this team, you didn't even notice the big fella was gone, and he's a gun. Like so crucial to their go forward. And
I'll bring him up every week because I can't wait for him to return. Havili. Such a big hit.
That's another one as well. So, and again, I said it. I think I said it last week, or maybe on the captain's run. What is bizarre about all this is Jackie Whiten hasn't even arrived. And I know this hurts, Timmy.
Oh, I'm used to it by now, mate.
But Jackie Whiten hasn't even arrived at the club yet, and this is what they're putting together.
Yeah.
Holy! You imagine this side with Jack Whiten in it?
As it stands, you're going to lose anyone at the end of this season?
I saw an article floating around that I think Para and the Dogs are after Sele, but officially not at this point. Yeah.
Oof. Wow.
I mean, talk about windows. It's here. The window is here for the Rabbitohs. Now, when Cody Walker does decide to retire, obviously that window, it may close, it may not. They may replace him with a young gun. But
They've
right
got a
now,
young gun there, Jai Gray.
Yeah.
There's a very good chance, I reckon.
Now, Jai Gray's friends, I don't know who he is yet, but don't send me any. If he comes in and scores a try, don't send me abuse. I will be happy to know him when he does come in. No, it's all good. As I said,
you know when like good things happen, and then as more time passes, they get a little bit better and more exaggerated as you kind of forget about them. Turns out we only won the first 3 games in 2015. It wasn't quite the first 7.
7, 3, jeez.
3 on the trot.
3 on the trot. Stop it. That's rugby league for you, though. That's rugby league for you. Like the amount of people that get angry at me for, or last year with the Para Eels thing, I was getting smashed constantly. Like, oh fuck, you serious? And then now this year it's because I think Roosters can just go on a crazy run the whole season, can turn around quickly. People don't like hearing that.
You know what's wild? When you said the first 7 games, I thought that was unders. I thought it was closer to 10.
Rugby league.
Well, do you know the Raiders last season, they lost their first 22 games and made a late run to finish top 8.
And rattled the cages of the big dogs. So, yeah, Rabbitohs, as we said, unbelievable. So exciting for the Rabbitohs. And, like, just the superstars that they have win their side. Like, you know, they love the big moments. They love the banter. They love the chat. They throw out lines themselves. It's great. It's great for rugby league.
2013 it was. You won your first 9 of 10 games.
That's right. We lost to Melbourne. That's right. Yeah.
And that's obviously when Roosters won the comp.
Yeah.
Now onto the Tigers performance. As I said, guys, I thought this was an incredibly gutsy performance, and you cannot ask more from your team than a really high completion rate and just ripping in. And that's exactly what they did. And yes, the end score ended up to 20-0, but to say you went with the form side of the comp for 70 minutes, there's plenty to build on there. And I think that Brooks is just growing in confidence, just growing and growing. You can see him directing traffic. You can see him demanding the ball. And although I still think that there's too much water under the bridge and you know, it'd be best for him to be picked up by another club, you have to give raps where raps due, and they look much better. Much better.
6-0 after 72 minutes against South Sydney would have caused a street parade at Leichhardt a month ago.
Yeah.
From where they were to have 2 wins and then to have, you know, be within 6 points of firing, you know, almost fully fit South Sydney side with 10 minutes to go. Take the positives out of it. Definitely trending in the right direction for those Tigers.
Timmy?
Yeah, we sort of spoke about it a little bit before how it was a pretty scoreline, definitely didn't reflect the game. Dream Buller, I love watching him play. For a young bloke to come in against tough opposition not tough opposition, the best teams in the competition in the last 3 weeks since debuting, being Penrith and South Sydney, he just never looks flustered by anything. He's so good under the high ball. His support play is really good. He ran for 190 metres, 21 runs on the weekend. He really could be just the long-term fullback for him. I love him.
And also, like, what I love about Buller is, like, he's going to fill out his body. You can see physically, he probably looks around 6 foot, 6'1". He'll fill out quite a bit and become quite hard to handle in contact.
His ball playing's good, and again, at his age, it's only going to get better and better. So,
I loved as well too the amount of times they kicked to David Nofaluma and Buller just went, "Yep, I want it.
Yeah.
Give it to me and I'll return." I love seeing that from young guys.
Yeah. I think Staffatoa is getting better and better and better. When he left the Knights, I felt like there was quite a lot of potential there that just never really got. I don't know what happened. Maybe it's hard to be harsh on the Knights because maybe it was just too big of an offer and they wanted to keep Staffatoa there. And also, you look at the Knights' backline; he's pretty bloody good at the moment.
Yeah.
But Staffatoa, the more games he gets, he's got electric footwork. He's so strong for his size. I mean, this game alone against the best team in the comp right now: 24 runs, 203 metres, 68 post contact, 2 tackle breaks, 15 tackles, 2 offloads, only 1 miss. Like, that's a great knock. A great knock.
There's just something about him, isn't there? You can tell there's more there as well. So yeah, I think when he signed with the Tigers, we spoke about him that he played fullback for the New Zealand under-19s or those lines. He was very impressive there. So I think it's been a really good get by the Tigers, and I still think he's got plenty to offer.
Isaiah Papali'i, I thought was good. I thought Bateman was outstanding.
he's warming into it.
Yeah.
You got to remember that Beto didn't have a pre-season. There was injury impacted. He had a foot injury, an ankle injury or something, and then was over in England and couldn't get his visa cleared. So he not having a pre-season. I'm sure he was obviously doing stuff over there, but not doing it with the squad and being so interrupted. It takes it out of you. So he's getting there, isn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. Far out, he can impact a game as a forward, and in his own unique way. It's really no one plays like Johnny Bateman. No one does. Like, he does all these unorthodox things that you're basically told not to do, but he nails them and he breaks games apart with these moments that they're never going to make the highlight reel. But if you actually watch the match, you go, what a big play from Johnny Bateman.
Must be so frustrating. Like, not frustrating, but as a coach, you're telling your team what to do, what not to do, and you almost just want to say to John, just ignore everything.
Yeah.
You do the opposite. You do whatever the hell you want to do in that moment, and it's okay.
And defensively preparing for him, you can't.
You literally can't.
Yeah.
You literally can't. So, yeah, Tigers, as I said, 20-0 loss, but there's a lot to like this past few weeks. There's a lot to like. 20-0 against a form side, it's not the end of the world, that's for sure. You're nowhere near the shell of yourselves that you were in round one. So I would, I'd be excited, Tigers fans. Getting better. Store shout-outs, Lake Illawarra Hotel, Bottom Mart, hotel manager, Shay, big fan, and store manager, Zoltan, the great Zoltan, ranging both midi and lager. That is Shay and Zoltan. What a crew.
What is it?
Shay and Zoltan. Zoltan. I tell you what, though, Lake Illawarra Hotel has been with us from the very start. So make sure to get down to your local, grab a case of Bloke beer. They stock midi and lager. Shay and Zoltan, legends down there, Lake Illawarra Hotel. North Nowra Hotel Bottle Mart. Store manager Kev, range midi and lager. That's the North Nowra Hotel Bottle Mart. Warrilla drive-through, manager Linda, stocking lager and midi. So pull up and have a yarn and walk out with some bloke. How good? Cronin's Liquor, the great Cronin's Liquor, the famous Cronin's Liquor in Gerringong. Store manager Matt is back from holidays and they are stocked up with lager. I've actually been down to that great store, great little store. Now, on to Cowboys defeating the Dragons. First consecutive game wins this year for Cowboys, but we're seeing this is what we thought they were going to be. Now, that late, I guess, push from the Dragons was a little bit concerning. But Cowboys fans from 3 weeks ago would absolutely kill for a win like this. They were dominant. They managed to wrangle momentum back in that last, I guess, 5 minutes or so. Helam Lukey outstanding. Reece Robson looked, as we said earlier, you need a pack to be able to play well as a 9. Robson, last 2 games, probably his better games so far this year. What do you guys think of the Dragons?
We said 2 weeks ago the Cowboys, we'd love to see them look like they're enjoying rugby league again.
Yeah.
Good God. As soon as we said that, they came out in Magic Round and, not ideal conditions or whatnot, but they looked to be enjoying themselves. And
every play, yipping and yahooing.
Yeah. And they were...
Every fucking play. Pass the ball, fuck yeah. Make it tackle.
Yahoo there.
You know what? They're watching NFL. Fucking yip there. Yahoo over there. Win a fucking game in a row, mate.
Oh, that broke me. Yeah, they were yipping and yahooing, to quote one. No, but they just look happy playing footy at the moment. I think, we said at the start of the year when he wasn't there, Scott Drinkwater, that he makes such a difference, and you can finally start to see it this weekend. Just that little bit of spark that he provides for them. And I know we already mentioned him in our team of the week, but Lukey,
mate,
thanks
holy.
for coming. This is
Jesus.
what we're talking about. Freak.
And he's a kid still, like, building into his body. Can you get his age up? 21 maybe? Timmy, what do you reckon of the Cowboys?
Yeah, as a standalone game, I could be a little bit critical in that, the Dragons obviously not throwing much defensively. They end up putting on, 22 points on them. But because it was backed up from that amazing win against the Roosters last week, I look at it in a completely different light going, you know what, they're building some momentum in attack. As you said, there was 2 late tries, 3 pretty late tries, to be fair, from the Dragons. So once they'd already essentially won the game. So, yeah, like, win to win for the Cows. Their attack is starting to come. They've got players due back soon. Jason Taumalo could be back as soon as this week, which will obviously be enormous for them. Going into the Origin period, they'll lose a couple from here and here. But, yeah, they're not entirely back on track.
Yeah.
They're getting there.
He turned 22 last month.
Turned 22 last month.
Well, what we said must have been probably 2 weeks ago that I think we said going into the Roosters game the one before that they had to win, otherwise their season was gone. And they've gone win-win. So
was the Knights game, pretty
Knights
sure.
game.
If they couldn't beat the Knights, I said they can't make the 8.
yeah, it was definitely Knights.
And
game.
so I will be honest. I have to be honest. You guys know I'll be honest. A couple of weeks ago, privately, I don't think publicly, but privately, I'd put a line through them. I'd go on, I just can't see it. They don't look anywhere near. Now, I'm not saying that they'll make the 8, but I'm getting a bit more nervous about that line through them. Because these are good quality wins. Yeah, it's against the Dragons, but you have to remember the Dragons have only lost by 1 to 2 points for 5 matches in a row. And the Cowboys, I don't underestimate or underappreciate the fact that the Dragons have been hard to put away by teams much higher than themselves. And so I think it's a great win. And to score 42 points too, just to know that you have that in you, it's a good thing to have. As Cowboys fans, not fully back on track yet, but definitely trending in the right direction.
Oh, I like too. Like, it was obviously, 24-6 at halftime, but which is a big scoreline at halftime. But I thought the Dragons in the first few minutes came out firing. I sort of thought the Dragons would come to play here. Jack DeBellin scored very early, which I think for the last 10 weeks might have rattled the Cowboys a little bit, but they just seemed to bounce back straight away. What about that field goal that Bell Holmes?
Oh, monster. Absolute. When they threw it to Townsend and then he threw it back to Holmes, I was like, bloody hell, you're nearly near your own goal line here. It's way too far out. Just monstered it.
Hits him so sweetly.
Far out. Thank God he's a Queenslander.
Yeah, really happy for you.
I tell you what, I know we came through it with the messages, but it really is Origin time. It's almost like a natural season for Queensland players. It's almost like you can smell it in the
We
air.
get Joey Johnson.
They can smell it in the air because Queensland players have just hit red hot form. KP comes out, does what he does. Fafita's been killing it. Obviously, Val Holmes. I mean, people are saying that Hamiso may get the centre spot for Queensland, but I think Dangagai's been bloody pretty good this year.
I'd have Hamiso on the wing for sure in my side.
So would you have Selwyn on the other one?
Yep.
And Hamiso the other one. I mean, then you got Xavier that has that crazy run where you go, oh,
Taulagi?
and you got Taulagi as well. So, yeah, it's exciting.
You're
Anyway.
going him, aren't you, on the wing?
I think so. I think I have Taulagi.
Yeah, I'm a bit unsure on Taulagi because he hasn't been that great since coming back, I think, from injury. But he was quite solid when he played for Australia. He was good for us decent for us last year. I'll put it this way. And it's going to sound biased as, but if Corey Oates was injury-free, it would be Selwyn and Corey Oates for me.
Fair.
I would too if
Yeah.
Oates had played the season, didn't have his injury risk, but yeah.
But anyway, back to the Cowboys.
I mean, Oates is, I think it'll be too soon for him, but he's also a big chance to come back this week. So he'll get one game.
Oh, really?
His claim, yeah.
Wow, and he didn't go too bad when he played, it was a game 3 last year. The big goats, my goats.
So a team's getting picked next. What?
Goats from the goats.
Oh, no. Rhymes.
I'm on that.
You're on today, mate. I like it.
I have no idea what I was going to say.
Team Sunday
Oh,
night.
yeah, Sunday night, is it?
Monday
Or-
now.
Yeah, so
Monday now.
it's funny. So Freddie said Monday on
Copy
TV.
Queensland. Copy
but-
Queensland. Copy Queensland.
Freddie said Monday on TV, but I caught up with some co-workers yesterday, and they thought it was Sunday, and they were pretty high up. So I don't know. It's either Sunday or Monday.
Well, Freddie, he said...
Freddie
like,
definitely said Monday.
Definitely said we're changing it to Monday.
If I was Freddie, I would 100% pick it on Monday because Turbo plays 4 p.m. Sunday. I want to talk to him after and see how he's going.
Do you reckon we'll get to Manly. We'll get to Manly. I mean, I feel like we're doing Origin a bit of a disservice because we're speculating a little bit. We're not really talking that much about it, and it's only 2 weeks away pretty much. But don't worry.
I'm sure we won't miss it in the next few weeks.
There'll be a 5-hour podcast next week just on Origin. But who do you think stood out for you guys in the Cowboys side?
Yeah, Drinky was the one that I already mentioned that I thought did really well. Hyam Lukey. He just excites me so much. I think he's got so much raw ability. It's insane. I thought Tommy did solid once again. Just a very...
Strongest hips in the game, I reckon.
Be a good Oz tagger.
Mate, the amount of bloody tackles he breaks through with those strong hips. Big, I was going to say baby bearing hips, but they're not that strong. But they're strong hips. I'm of the Joey mould. Joey had strong hips.
What happened to Kempy? Where did he go? Who is this guy today?
Well, tell me Dearden doesn't have strong hips. He's always pushing through tackles. The great Dearden. One of the great hips all time.
Just stood out for you, Tim.
What was in the water up in Byron this
I
weekend?
don't know, man. Well, what happened in Byron? I can't say. NDAs, all kind of crazy stuff.
I was Lukey as well. It was just because we rap him on this show all the time, and he's obviously can find an injury. Poor old Lukey came out from a lengthy one this season, then had his hammy twinge, sort of 6 to 8 weeks ago, missed a stint. Like, the Dragons' defence on him for the tries wasn't great, but he's that good a player. I think he'll score a lot of tries that make him defences look weak and look silly because he's so strong. So, I mean, I think coming back from injury and with your forward depth, Queensland's probably not in the equation just yet, but if there's a couple of injuries and we get to game 2 or 3, he'll be in the conversation.
Well, I'll put it out there. I reckon if he plays since round 1, he would be in the conversation.
Yeah. He would definitely be in the conversation.
Because he is so good. And the unique thing about Helam, he's so tall, he's so big. He's actually got a hectic motor. Like, he can go out and make 40 tackles for you if you want. He is. I cannot wait to see him flourish as a player. Really can't. I remember, wasn't he he scored on one of his debut? Oh no, he ran down.
Someone.
Kalen Ponga, I think. I think Ponga ended up scoring. It may have been another player, but we're talking about a bloody 6'4" giant. And also, I think he was nearly in tears when he scored on his debut or something like that. Like, this is a passionate, like, if you want to make a guy for your team, Helam Lukey's that guy.
Wasn't his debut try a beast as well? Didn't he, like, pound through like 2 or 3 blokes and ran about 30 metres and slammed it down with some bloke hanging off him? Would have been a hip drop these days, but
exactly.
I feel it was an unreal debut try.
I think, as you said, like, if he would have played all the games this year, he'd be in the conversation. If he wouldn't have got injured last year, he could be an incumbent in that side.
Yeah. Agreed. He is so exciting, and as long as he stays injury-free, we are just scratching the surface. He's barely played NRL. What? He'd be at 15 games right now or so? Max?
Yeah, not much more.
Not much more than that. So great stuff. What else I really like is sometimes the stats do tell a picture, sometimes they don't. But you look at the backs, 122 metres, 200 metres, 213 metres, 169, 145, 120. And then their forwards, obviously their meterage is down. And what I love about that is there's a very clear game plan that the stat sheet is showing us. It's like right there for you to see. We make our forwards do all the hard tackling, the line speed, and we get our backs to come in and get us the meterage that we need.
He's on 30. He got a few at the back end of 2021.
Okay, so he's on 30 games. 30 NRL games in his... Oh, man, we are just getting started with this beast. Anything else stand out for you guys?
All good, mate.
No, I think with the Cowboys, we just... I want to see it for another 2 weeks. Small sample size so far, it's been good, but they're a team that should be able to consistent. And we said this, even when they were going through their poor patch at the start of the season, we said, geez, they're a team that could win 2, then they could win 8 in a row. So hopefully they can find some real... Who have they got this week?
Tigers at Leica.
Very winnable.
He'll be out
Very
there. How
winnable,
good's that going to be? Saturday at 5:30.
Hey, it could be eating me private words. Could be eating me private words. But as I said, I'll be honest, I had a line to them probably... Even after the Knights win, because they just scraped through, didn't they? They just scraped through against the Knights. I was like, that was not convincing to me. But getting a bit nervous. They may make a late push for the 8, and it's exciting.
Well, if they win this week against the Tigers, they then play Parramatta, which is round 13. So there's obviously Origin players out, so that helps their cause. The week after that, round 14, is the few days after Origin. They play Melbourne in North Queensland.
Oh, wow.
So good
Real
opportunity here
yeah.
for the Cowboys.
So they could pick up 8 points if they have a really good month of footy.
Into a bye.
Well, the Para one round 13 is going to be tough because Para will probably only lose Junior Barlow. And then
But
Cows
Para
They're
have been
already without
so-
Regan.
But also Para is sitting 15th.
Sean Lane as well.
Something like that.
But
Sean Lane.
Cows will be missing, Cotter,
That's true, yeah, that's fair, actually.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't think of that.
Val.
Yeah, okay.
Still, like they'll keep
It's
their entire
winnable for
spine
sure,
together. They'll get Taumalolo back, so
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm just looking at that. Eels are 14th. Cowboys are 13th. Cowboys are on 10 points. 8th is 12 points.
Yeah, it's so tight.
Holy. Well, I mean, don't put a line through them at all. They very much could make the 8.
Yeah.
Very much could make the 8. That is bizarre. How tight the table is absolutely
The
bizarre.
Raiders are a game off first.
Bro.
Get that in you.
10 points for Cowboys on 13th. And then third is 14 points. So 10th, so they're coming 13th is only 2 wins off third.
To put it into like something that actually happened, after round 8, Manly was second, and after round 10, they were out of the top 8.
Wow. So exciting times, Cowboys. I wouldn't say they're definitively back. We're not watching the same Cowboys side as we saw last year. But in their defence, they're missing Nanai, Leilua, Taumalolo. Fuck, didn't even think of that. They scored 40 points without Taumalolo.
Yep.
That's actually pretty outstanding. Okay. Well, that's exciting. Cowboys fans, get on them. Ride them. Oats my goats. Okay, let's talk about the Dragons. Hate talking about this stuff, as you guys all know, but I don't see a world where Hook's here for much longer. As a first grade coach, I think that the drums are just beating too loudly. 44 points put on you by a team currently running 13th. I think at the time they probably were sitting 15th. Yeah, there was a late fight back for sure. But there's one decision for me where I go, and to be fair, the Dragons did have some really rough calls against them. Like that sin bin, I think they sin bin the wrong bloke. If anyone, Sloan should have been sin bin. But the call where I think that it might be an issue for Hawke, and he definitely would have his own reasons for doing it. But the fact that they were behind by so much, Sullivan gets sent to the bin incorrectly for one, and I don't know why Hunt wasn't allowed to challenge that call. But then Sullivan doesn't get put back on for the rest of the game. I find that I've tried to think of it from every angle in regards to, okay, what is Hawke thinking in this scenario that I'm aware of in regards to playing ability? And I just cannot for the life of me understand when you're chasing points, you've got a guy that scored 2 tries last week after not playing first grade for a while, if I recall correctly, and then he doesn't get back on the field. And I think that if you needed ammo, I guess, to say, maybe this is the time to go, we got towed up, we're not going too well, you could see that as ammo for him to go. Because I disagree with that decision to keep Sullivan off for the rest of the game.
100%. And can't say it, definitely whatever, but I mean, that almost seemed personal to me. How could he not possibly put him back on the field when they're chasing points like that after his performance the week before and everything? I just don't. And I understand he got sin bin, but there was nothing he could have. It almost felt like he was punishing him for getting sin bin.
Yeah, because it's like you can see the replay like us. Like Sullivan clearly didn't do anything wrong.
Personal to me. It makes no sense to me whatsoever.
There's clearly this talent in Sullivan, and we don't see what goes on behind the scenes, but it feels like there's been, whether it's been personal or whatever, it feels like there's always been a reluctance to play Jaden Sullivan, even when he's killing in reserve grade, or then they bring up on to play him hooker and play him hooker off the bench. And he couldn't have done more for me last week when he scored those 2 tries and looked unreal.
We nearly had him as our 7 of the week in a losing side.
20 minutes into the game, he gets binned. And when he got binned, they could have brought him back on. They used an interchange to keep him off, I believe.
Also, Moses Mbai came on instead of him being brought back on. And to my understanding, so they wasted an interchange to bring Mbai on. Yeah,
I as you said, I would love to know what Hawke's thinking behind that was, because I can't make any rationale for it.
There's nothing that makes sense to me. And we don't see the inner workings, but we have to call it like we said. I disagree with the call. I think it's a wrong call, and I think that you're a team chasing points, and there's an argument to be made that Sullivan can score more points than Ben Hunt. That's how good he is in attack. There's an argument to be made.
On top of that, so Hunt went back into the halves, yeah?
Yeah, and then Moses
he went back into the halves. Hunt through crafty dummy half play, put Jack de Bellamy through a try 2 minutes into the game.
Yeah.
After last week, Sullivan scored a double and the spine sort of, we can work with this. And then he went back to, Ben back to halfback.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great point, because it's like, well, aren't you trying to build towards this future of Sullivan and Moan? Like last week we give Hawke raps, we go, finally, he's going to make the call. It's a tough call, a really tough call, that putting Hunt at 9, we know Hunt doesn't want to play there. But you do see some dividends beginning, as you said, Hunt puts de Bellamy over. It just doesn't make sense to me. And if you're a higher up looking for reasons, surely you're going to go, mate,
that's a good one.
All of our young fellas seem to be struggling under you. Sloan is just way too inconsistent at the moment. And I think you look at even like Sully, Fainite, all of these young players, Lomax getting dropped. Are they developing as well as they should be?
And then you look at Max Fainite, who went into centre, who had a bit of a Barry, didn't have his best game defensively, and so did Sully. And you go, I don't know how much time Fainite spent at centre coming through the grades. It might have been a heap, but I thought he'd been quite good on the wing. Now I get that they had Brother Matt on one wing and Ravalawa. And look, I'm not against dropping a bloke like Zach Lomax. If you're not happy with the performance, you give him a shake up, a bit of a kick in the butt. But you've got Max there who was carved up, and then Zach Lomax in reserve grade. He's been in there for 2 or 3 weeks now, reserve grade.
Yeah. On the weekend, he was
just
good.
Not a lot sort of adds up.
And also, did we really think Lomax was playing that poorly? It doesn't make any sense.
Like he's clearly the best centre option for the club. If you do want to give him a kick up the bum and a bit of a shake up, a week or two max in reserve grade.
Yeah,
you get him back up.
Then you get him back up. But this idea, and even the fact that like Sully is now, having those drop balls, like there's clearly unrest in that camp. It feels irresponsible to make such a harsh call in regards to the camp because we don't know what is the inner workings. But from the outside looking in, when you just look at purely the way they play, it just seems like there's unrest.
Like maybe something happened with Sullivan, maybe something happened with Lomax and all that we don't know about. Why was there the unrest in the first place and why is there these issues behind the scenes? So it's hard to make a case.
And it's not just one player. Like if you had one superstar coming through that struggled to find his potential, that happens at every club. But it does seem like a lot of the young guys at the Dragons right now haven't kicked on to where they should probably be right now. And that just the blame shouldn't all be at Hook's feet. But when I see decisions like that, because there's a lot of stuff that Hook does that I do like, that I think is great. And I do think that sometimes he does get the best out of older players that are a bit past it, squeezes the juices out of the players that may be a bit past their prime. But with this next generation that have come through at the Dragons, it just doesn't seem to be working, man. It doesn't seem to be working.
And I think that for a long time, or for the last 2 years anyway, Anthony Griffin's been so heavily linked to Ben Hunt, keeping him there. But I'm sorry, even with Ben Hunt playing unbelievable footy and Hook being there, what's the best they've finished 10th? If you're playing finals footy because Anthony Griffin's there and he's keeping Ben Hunt happy, sweet. But Ben Hunt went as close as he's probably ever going to get to winning a Dally M last year. You finished 10th.
On top of that as well, when Mary McGregor was coached, for all his detractors, he had 5 to 6 Origin players that he had at that team, that he attracted. And unfortunately, Anthony Griffin has just been unable to attract any superstar to the club. Like Benny Hunt was already there. I'm sure he could have attracted Benny Hunt because they've got such a close relationship. But outside of that, like what superstar has been... I mean, what have we even spoken about in the papers in regards to linked to superstars? No, there's been no real substantial link to anyone.
A bloke that we were all pretty high on this season, we thought would have been really good, Josh Kerr, played 19 minutes.
So Kerr, 19 minutes off the bench, which is, he's a damaging ball runner. Like, he's a damaging ball runner. A few weeks ago, he was fantastic. Dragons.
So just to double confirm, on NRL.com, it has interchange number 2, Sullivan off, Mbai on, which was like 1 second after he came back from the sin bin. So as far as we know, it burned an interchange.
Because they could have just get Sullivan on because he already had a 10-minute break. And also, I think they used only 7 interchanges.
Only 7 interchanges, yeah.
What?
I don't understand. Anyway.
Glass half full for them, and this has been very silver lining, looking at the optimistic side of it. But as you said, leading into this game was something like 5 games in a row, like a combined loss margin of 19 points or something ridiculous. So not far off the pace. They conceded 3 tries in that 10 minutes that Jaden Sullivan was in the bin.
I know.
And just essentially ended the game there. Now, in one regard, you sit there and go, you're a player down, you have to get up for those 10 minutes and you have to be better, of course. But such a debatable sin bin. Was it a call that had to be made and that's essentially ended the game? Yeah. Again, I'm looking after the Giants because they have to be better, but still.
Yeah. And it affects the game. It affects the game. And, we talk about these sin bins that, like, it affects careers. There's so much more than just, a bit of footy that, we lost a player. Like, this could be the loss. If they win this game, is Hook under this much pressure? Like, no, it's relief for an extra week. And
Sullivan stays on... kills that game, locks down the 7 spot after 2 big performances in a row.
Like potential, 100% could happen. Let's talk about some positives though. Jack DeBellamy.
Can I get one more negative in?
Okay, yeah.
So I'm sorry to kick one down, but I just thought this play had to be highlighted. When Bud Sullivan's off, it ends up, I think it's Heimluke's first try. Cowboys make a break down the right-hand side. Ben Hunt is defending 3 in on the other side. He makes the try-saving tackle on Chad Townsend in front of the stick, so he hovers all the way around, makes that tackle. Ruben Cotter dummies from dummy half. Ben Hunt makes that tackle. Then it goes to Scott Drinkwater on the other side tramp line. Remember that Ben Hunt's meant to be defending on the other tram line. He makes that tackle. No one helps him. Drinkwater gets an offload away, and Lukey beats 3 defenders in 3 metres to score.
You're letting Benny Hunt down.
He deserves better. He deserves so much better than what he got on the weekend.
How dejected was Pryor Hunt? 2 weeks in a row, but on the weekend after that game, he's 300th. And they've obviously they interviewed him after this week. They interviewed him last week as well. He was just shattered. Shows how much he loves that club, how hard he's putting in, and he's getting nothing in return.
Go and watch that play, 25th minute. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, Benny Hunt deserves better. He absolutely deserves better. And some of these drop balls were just just classic, just straight drops. These weren't good, clean hits. These weren't at the line, pressure passes. These were just straight up, not concentrating, drop balls. And I just think that you got a guy like Ben Hunt who is so respected throughout the community. I know the players didn't go out intentionally to play poorly, but I hope it is a real wake-up call to how important these games are and how much they can mean to someone. Like, that's his 300th game. He has to remember. Like that.
Yeah.
Benny Hunt, after everything he's done, how hard he's worked. And yes, I understand he's on a big contract, but, you know, he if there's anyone in that team that could go, you know what, I'm not making 3 tackles in a row, it's him.
Birdie's having a crack.
As I was going to say, let's talk about the positives.
Yeah.
TOTW has been outstanding for the past month. Absolutely outstanding, in my opinion. Jackie Bird ripped and teared all game long. 150 metres, 9 tackle breaks, 31 tackles, 0 misses. DeBellin, a similar stat, 39 tackles, 0 misses, 140 metres. And so when you look at that, there is still some fire there. There's still some, I guess, just wanting to be in the match. But unfortunately, their handling just let them down. It really did. Do you think Jack Bird's in Origin conversations at all? I know I'm not throwing him in there. I'm just saying, do you think he is in? Because I actually think he wouldn't make a bad off-the-bench player.
I think he'd be a name on the whiteboard, but I still think he's a distance away.
Distance away, yeah.
Interesting call. I hadn't even considered it, to be honest, but like another one of them calls of if he was playing at a more successful club at the moment, he'd be right in the conversation.
Yeah, because he is an Origin player.
Yeah.
Like, suits Origin.
So versatile off the bench.
Play essentially anywhere.
Yeah.
And he loves the physicality of it all.
I don't mind that at all.
Have you thought about him at all?
No, didn't think of it till you just said it, but
Typical New South Welshian. Give your players no respect. No, just joking. Just joking. No, I just thought I'd throw it out there because even Jack DeBellin, like, this is what happens when you're, at a club that's struggling. You got guys playing well like Jack Bird and, just not going to get a look in for Origin. Whereas if you put him in the Storm, the Rabbitohs, even the Roosters, he probably is getting a look in and they're struggling.
It's unfortunate how it's played out for a guy like Jack Bird. Obviously he won the comp at Cronulla early in his career, then he arrived at Brisbane. He had all the injuries. It was a really poor time for Brisbane as well. Comes down to St George. They're not overly successful either. I feel like if he would have landed in the right system for a long period of time.
He just got so unlucky at the Broncos.
So unlucky.
The injuries and that. Anything else to say about the Dragons, boys?
No.
Does Hook see out the week?
I don't think so.
I'll say no.
yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah, I hate to say it. As I always say on this podcast, you never want to see a bloke lose his job, but I just think that it's... And I want to say as well, I think Hook's been unfairly done by the Broncos as well. We can sit here and talk about the calls that he gets wrong, but for them to come out basically at the start of the season and say he needs to re-interview, even if they thought that internally, I just think it was really unfair on Hook and put him in a position of basically can't win. Like, how can he get these boys up and believe in him if they already know he's pretty much gone? Well, the club doesn't believe him. They've openly said, you need to re-interview. So I think that was really unfair on Hook from the Dragons. I really think that they should have handled that all internally. I think they should have probably made quite a strong decision of they either sticking with him or not, told him privately and said, mate, you got the rest of the season to audition for a new club or whatever you want to do. Whereas the idea of like having to re-interview, I thought that was really unfair on him. I have to be honest.
Yeah, and I think it started even earlier than that when Ben Hunt said that, start of the season, they have to win X amount of games at the start or he knows the coach is gone.
So unfair.
Ben Hunt doesn't just pull that out of nowhere. He's been told that.
Yeah. That's... If you disagree with the way a coach coaches or you disagree with him even being there as a head coach, I think sometimes some clubs they forget what the end goal is. The end goal is not your personal opinion being put forward and taken. The end goal is to win footy matches. And I would argue that putting out there that he has to re-interview, is that the best environment for the club to win footy matches? Now, it may suit your environment and your agenda of what you want at the club, but is it the best environment for you in footy matches? And I don't think it is.
Yeah, I think potentially they were setting up their agenda there.
Which is unfair. Is unfair. Again, okay, so if they had come out, if they had gone privately and said, Hook, we're not backing you, do you think there would have been much uproar from the fans? Like if he did get moved on? And so I just think there's a better way to go about it, and you get the same result from the Dragons, which is the replacement of Anthony Griffin.
I think it will, like whoever the Dragons pick as their next coach, they have to get it right because they cannot afford to have a third coach in 5 years. Oh. They're not attracting guys now. If they go through another coach, and whoever they get will be the next guy. He's meant to do this. He's meant to do that. If that doesn't work, then they're in really danger territory.
Yeah, and I think also the board, even though that's so much easy to say, they've got to be united and they have to give him the keys to the castle. Don't have a divided board where we wanted this guy and he's not going well, so now we're going to undermine him. I think the board need to be fully united in their decision and say, mate, you've got the keys to the castle for the next 3 years. And I would go similar to the Andrew Webster route where he recruited smart, the right guys that, fringes and guys that could get a job done and then build on top of that. I think Warriors did it really, really well. And what's crazy as well about the Warriors, they have to do it from New Zealand.
I was just about to say, if Andrew Webster can convince guys to move to New Zealand, you can convince guys to come down to Sizzler at St George.
Mate, 100%. 100%. Now, on to the next game. Raiders defeat the Eels. Raiders get the job done against the Eels. Post-match, Brad Arthur came out and basically said that they got dudded by a penalty count. And although I agree with Arthur in regards to they got dudded on some very poor calls, unfortunately, when you completed 68%, the calls aren't the reason that you lost. And I thought that although what's crazy is I agree with Brad Arthur. They got dudded. It is not best for the environment of the team to come out and say it publicly, and definitely not privately to the players when you completed 68%. Now, if they had completed at 90% or 85%, let's say 85%, and he had said the same thing, I would have said, yeah, maybe he has a case. 10-3 penalty count? Maybe he has a case. But when you're completing at 68%, it's just, you can't be blaming the penalty count.
Refs were not the reason why they lost. I don't know. I don't know about you two, but I still thought the best team on the park won the game. And I don't think you can convince me otherwise. So, I didn't like the look from Brad Arthur either. I thought it was just wasn't called for. It's just a bad look.
Especially you completed 68%.
Yeah. Take care of your own backyard. And
then start looking at calls. And as I said, I agree. Some of those calls were outrageous. Like, oh my God. But it wasn't the ref's fault that they lost.
I just hate when coaches come out and point out the penalty count. Like, let's even, obviously there's Raiders bias in this game. Maybe Para got some dud calls. So it could have been any other game, but I hate when they do it because if it's a 10-3 penalty count, well, maybe your side was had ill discipline 7 more times than the opposition. Sometimes there might be genuine weeks where they did get dud on a few calls, and maybe this is one of them weeks, but they always say lopsided penalty counts. Well, it's not going to be 50-50 every time because one team's not going to have the same discipline as the other team every single game.
And it comes around.
I think it's such a cop-out that, lopsided penalty count.
Yeah. Well, and it comes around too.
Yeah.
Like, you never see a coach come out on the winning side and say, we got 10 penalties, they got 3. That's bullshit. And so it's like,
deal with it.
Yeah, even if you were right or you were wrong, unless you're completing at 85% and not missing tackles and not letting tries in, I thought it was the wrong tack from Brad. I did.
And they genuinely just didn't take advantage of the opportunities they had, I thought, Parramatta. There was one where they made a break down the right sideline. It was first, second tackle. They kicked the ball dead on the full from about 20 metres out.
Yeah.
5 line breaks to 2, Para had.
Plenty of opportunities. So Eels, in regards to that, they were their own worst enemy. They had plenty of chances to win that game. But let's talk about the mighty Raiders first. Now, the Raiders are, 5 on the trot? Jeez, like, first of all, stoked.
Doesn't shut up about it.
No, seriously. So Raiders 5 on the trot. I want to give a rap to my man Fogarty. I just think he's been getting better and better each week, more confident, especially, the field goal he gets to win, couple of tries just now. And I think we're starting to see the benefit of combinations playing together for a long period of time. Now, I know Zach Warford, he went off with a HIA, I think.
Yep.
Did he? Didn't come back on, so he may not be available next week.
Danny Levi's due back potentially this week. So,
Okay. Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. But from a Raiders perspective, like, they're just playing. When I watch them, I sit there going, holy, this is, they could run for a premiership. No, but they're so gritty and just brave with their efforts. Every week they make it a battle, and that's just Raiders footy.
And maybe not quite, premiership contenders, although we're getting there. We're playing some good footy, but just like last year, going into finals, you could be the best team in the comp. You'd hate to play us. Like, if we continue this form, of course.
Yeah.
Like as we did, and we went into the final series last year on fire, touted at Melbourne week 1. We're gritty in week 2 of finals, but yeah, it's looking all right.
Mate, it's just the good thing for the Raiders is you're in a way better position now than you were last year. Like, last year we were 2-7, and you're sitting there going, "Oh my God, we might be fighting for the spoon here." Now you're sitting in the top 8, prepared to strike for the rest of the year. Again, that early portion of the year is so important because you put yourself in a position. If you get a couple of injuries, few players out. On top of all of that, this year you get to keep Jackie Whiten. Josh Papali'i will probably, if he does get selected, play 20 minutes.
Yep.
Max 20 minutes. Outside of that, you may get Hudson Young. Corey Horsburgh may be a victim of so many players in form.
But we've got a lot of forward depth as well.
A lot of
Corey
forward depth.
Howard, he can step in and play some decent minutes.
Yeah. So you're really going to get through this origin period, especially with Jackie Whiten being available quite well. And so, put my hand up, probably 4 to 6 weeks. 4 weeks ago, I said to Guru, I don't think that they'll make the 8. You said you thought
I said they'll win 5 on the trot.
Well, you still got a game to go because that was only 4 weeks ago. And you felt that they could make the 8 still?
Only because of what they did last year.
Yeah,
but I
yeah.
wasn't confident. I wasn't willing to rule them out.
Yeah.
But I was far from... I didn't think they'd do this.
Well, to be fair, they hadn't done anything to suggest they were going to come good, had they? We weren't looking great. And we were coming off that 50-point loss to Penrith, and we did sit there at the time and go, Penrith are just that good that they'll do this to teams, which we saw again on the weekend. So
I'll be bold and I'll say that still, if I had to put my 8 on the table right now, they wouldn't be in my 8. But I'm not confident in that statement. I'm not confident because it's this Raiders side. They're just gritty. Like, I know the Eels are missing Mitchell Moses, but it's still a solid side.
you mentioned having Jack Whiten through the origin period now. That could be potentially next year, 2 wins on the trot through that period.
Absolutely.
So, that, maybe that's the difference between finishing 8th and 9th end of the year.
Corey Horsburgh, let's talk about the big red. Well, one thing I did disagree with Ricky on where it was like...
This is one of his best calls ever, I reckon.
So he comes out, great win for the club, and then he's like, last week, Latrell Mitchell hit someone in the head, didn't get a penalty, no 10 in the bin. Corey Horsburgh does the same thing, 10 in the bin. And I was like, you know what? Stick loves his players so much that he feels that those 2 incidences were the same. I'm just like, bruh, they were very different incidents. What did you who stood out for you? And what do you think of the Sticks comments, Timmy?
I stand by Stick. I always stand by Stick, no matter what he says.
Stick. I love it.
Hudson Young was outstanding. He had that passage there. He had a second half try. He then had a really key strip at a time where Para began to wrestle the momentum back a little bit, and he took it off him and just... How many big plays does Huddo Young come up with? And he knows he's in the origin frame, and they come up against Parramatta, who on their day have arguably, or maybe not the best pack in the NRL, but right up there. And I thought Canberra outplayed their pack, and Huddo Young, as far as an origin trial goes, pretty bloody good.
He doesn't get much better than that in regards to wide running forward. So would he be in the squad for all 3 of yous?
Yes, he beat my squad without a doubt.
Definitely in the squad.
17.
He'd beat my 17 too, yeah.
Yeah, he's in my 17.
Wow, Hudson Young in a Blues jersey. Does look right.
Can I have my weekly Matty Timoko update?
Yeah.
Is this the most consistent 3 weeks of all time? He's so around 9, 10, 11. I'll say them in that order. Line breaks, 2, 1, 1. Tackle breaks, 6, 6, 7. Last 3 weeks, his run meters have been 200, 200, 201.
Oh, my
How
God.
wild is that?
That is so wild. I mean, what a knock from the big fella. Well, little fella, I should say. He must be... Is he strongest pound for pound in the comp?
He'd have to be right up.
Because he is not big, eh?
Nah.
He's what, 5'10"?
Like he's a tank.
Yeah,
but he's pretty short.
5'10".
Yeah.
He
183 centimetres.
Oh, really? So he's 6 foot.
Unless he's written it himself. Yep.
Yeah. He looks smaller than 6 foot, don't you reckon?
To me, he does. Yeah. 96 kilos.
Jesus. Oh, I thought he'd be smaller than that. I thought he'd be 5'10", 90 kilos. But that's pretty big, 96 kilos, 6 foot. Oh, not pretty big. I mean, it's actually it's average size for a footy player.
He's played 10 games this year. Four tries to 6 line breaks, 48 tackle breaks. Averaging almost 5 tackle breaks per game. And he's tackling at 92%.
And aside as well that, like, I've said it before, crying out for a strike outside back.
Yeah.
And Timoko, he's become that man, hasn't he?
Oh, he genuinely breaks games open now.
And like, you've got Mr. Reliable on the other edge of Jared Croker, but he's not going to break game open for you.
How good is Croker? Like, how did this happen? He was done.
How many wins on the trot for Croker in a bar? Give us a number.
I think it's 5, I think.
We're there.
We're there. No,
How good was Ricky Stewart's press conference? Obviously, he had the Corey Hawthorne one, but then like 4 times he pointed out to the media that Toots is here. You can also talk to him if you would like. Yeah. That was unreal.
Mate, what a great story and just a reflection of such a good bloke. To swallow your pride, you are basically your 250-game veteran. I'm sure they had conversations with him like, mate, it might be time for you to hang her up.
Sticky said that he came out and said, I'll admit it, like, I was not pushing for it, but like asking questions to Jared about, retirement, getting that injury dispensation or whatever it is. And I don't want to put words in Ricky's mouth, but it was along those lines of, he'd had conversations with him about it through his injury run.
And Croaks just said, no, I'm going to work hard. Which,
to Ricky's defence, I think it made complete sense at the time.
Yeah, and what I respect about Ricky is he's not lying about having that conversation. A lot of coaches would never admit to having that convo privately, but I think we could all agree it's probably all felt that way with Croaks. With the amount of injuries he'd had, you'd be like, mate, you've had such a great career, but no one knows Croker better than Croker, and he has been so solid for them. And I do think, remember when he first got dropped, and I was talking about the intangibles that he brings to this side, I think that we're starting to see that. He may not have 300 metres, 250 metres, 200 metres, 10 tackle breaks to try, but there's an intangible that he delivers to the Raiders.
He's like just covering him behind the line. Whenever there's a kick going behind the line, he'll sweep to the other side of the field and just be there every time. Whenever there's a line break and people are scrambling to get there, he's always there.
Yeah. They're
the intangibles where the real intangibles are like, what does he bring to this side? Players want to get up for him and play for him as their skipper. So, I don't want to put the mocker on him, but let's say that he gets to his 300th game, 3 away.
Yeah.
Hopefully he does. He may not. There's no mock here. But surely it'll be against the Tigers if we were to play 3 on the trot. Tigers at Campbelltown Sports Stadium. Bloke in a Bar, live show from Campbelltown.
Holy shit. I thought you were going to say like a little segment or something on the show on Monday, a whole live show.
Live show from Campbelltown.
God. Yeah, I think it might be a little bit much, but we'll try and get Croaks in
Ballpark, something along those lines.
A live show at Campbelltown. Well, I'll reach out to the Tigers and I'll see if they can put us up on the hill there for an away players live show. One of your best there. Anyone else stood out for you guys for the Raiders?
I know he didn't play last week, I'm pretty sure it was, but Albert Hopoate. I love the look of him.
He's a beast, eh?
He's a gun. Yeah. Takes tough carries too.
Absolutely loves it. Absolutely loves it. We've already kind of spoken about the Eels, so we'll just get quickly past this. But
Jermaine Hopgood scored a try. Don't skip that. We are in round 11. I have had a punt on Hopgood to score a try for the 10 weeks leading up to this with Sportsbet, and this is the 1 week at 9:50. I didn't get on.
No.
It's because you're a dog. That's why.
Yeah, no, I know.
You should be angry at yourself. No one else. You dogged Hopgood, and you got what you deserved. He could feel it in the air. He felt it.
Hurt me a lot.
You know what? He felt it, and he said, I'm going to show that guru what loyalty really feels like. And he's going to score a meaty, so you know next time stay loyal to the great Jaman.
By the way, you share a birthday with him. How good's that?
Yeah, I do. May 11th. May 11th, the great guru messaged me, said, happy birthday. You share a birthday with Jaman Hopgood?
Didn't say that to Jermaine. Just said happy birthday to him.
Yeah, just happy birthday with a picture of him smiling and actual present. No present for me. No. Look, back to the Eels. Disappointing performance. I thought Dylan Brown had some moments where he looked like he was going to get him back into the game. But there's not really much to say. It was just they had more line breaks. Hopgood obviously got through a bunch of work, but they just didn't. I mean, the loss of Sean Lane is quite dramatic for them because he's so part of that grand final push.
He hadn't, in his defence, Lane, he, come back from a lengthy enough injury, but it was a broken jaw. He hadn't looked terrific this season. He certainly wasn't anything close to, last year was such a career year for Sean Lane where he was in that origin conversation. Because he was such a focal point of their attack on that left edge. You were sort of hoping he could come in and they'd rediscover that form, but he wasn't quite there. So now a hammy injury, it's going to set him back again. He'll be gone for at least a few weeks, you'd imagine, that left edge. And I thought maybe I'm being a little bit critical on Dylan Brown, but we sort of spoke about last week how he was going to go with Mitch Moses there. I would have liked him to step up and taken control of that the side a bit more than he did. How do you boys feel about him?
I think that he's told not to though.
Yeah, okay.
I reckon
plays the 5'8" still.
Plays the 5'8" still.
Yeah.
But look, if he's been told to and he isn't, then I 100% agree with you. Because he still ran for 140 metres, had a try assist. He had 13 runs, a try assist, 19 tackles.
He had 5 runs after about 55 minutes, I think it was, and he sort of, towards the back end of the game, he started to try and assert himself a bit more, which was good.
Yeah.
And I said, maybe I'm being a little bit critical on him, but I was sort of hoping to be the game without Moses where he stepped up and went bang on.
Well, he is the next guy up. I don't think it's too critical at all. I think that if you're looking for a guy in the spine, he's the next guy up. Now, again, if he's being told by Brad Arthur, let Jacob lead the team around and you just play the same role as you normally play, then fair enough.
This story starts and finishes with Tim not being happy with his Supercoach score, by the way. Let's call it as it is.
Hey, he's been very good to me this season, Dylan Brown as Supercoach, so it's not fair.
The Josh Hodgson hands situation. Where are we at with that? Is Hodgson being unfairly kind of maligned for bad form for the Eels, or do you think that there is a bit of a...
I actually thought, and this is a standalone game, the conversation around it all season, there's, genuine argument to say hands maybe plays a few more minutes, but I thought in this game alone, Hodjo brought a lot of energy in this one, particularly early on. It was obviously the first game back in Canberra against his old club. I thought he brought a lot early on in this game.
Yeah, I thought he looked good, but I do think it's a standalone. I still like hands.
Like hands? Yeah. All right. I am, in my opinion, last year I stuck with the Eels through and through. I'm not in the same space with them this year. I'm actually a bit concerned about them this year.
Come get in, Parramatta fans. Leave me alone.
No, I'm a bit concerned. They don't look like... There's just something missing. And they've had a hard start to the season, for sure. But that extra punch, that when you really look at what they've lost, Korfusi, Papali'i, Reid Marnie. Now, I know other teams have lost key players, but I just think that the Para haven't really been able to replace them. Now that Sean Lane has been injured, so got to give him credit there, but I do think that they haven't been as fortunate as other clubs in replacing these players yet. We're hitting round 12 at the moment, and we're still unsure whether Hodgson's minutes are too much, too little, not enough. So I'm a bit
the centres still worry me weekly.
Well, Pensini, I love Pensini, but the other side.
Yep.
Unfortunately, it's just...
With Lane gone now, Maddo probably goes back to an edge.
Yeah.
They lose a bit more through the middle. You've already got RCG out, so...
Yeah, I don't know. They don't fill me with as much confidence that they can just definitely get up for the big games as they did last year. Whereas last year, you just knew that when they wanted to, they'll turn it on. Whereas this year, I'm a bit concerned.
Take on Souths this week. If they lose that one, I'll be very worried about them.
Given what, I mean, I know they haven't been great all season, but no Mitchy Moses, obviously their go-to player, so...
Oh, yeah, for this game specifically, you can look to it.
but-
But I think from a season's perspective, like they're sitting
14th
right now. And I'll reserve judgment, but I definitely am concerned. Now, on to the store shout-outs. Woolgoolga Beach Drive-Through Bottle Shop. Great supporters of Bloke beers, always available opposite the caravan park by the main beach. Thirsty Camel Bottle Shop in Ipswich. Josh and Folvies are one of the best supporters of Bloke. Tweed Head Cellars in Benora Point. Grab some Bloke Lager on Tweed and now stocking new Bloke Midi. That's Tweed Head Cellars and also, as I said, Thirsty Camel Bottle Shop in Ipswich. Big shout out to all local liquor members. Ask your favourite local liquor outlet if they'll stock Bloke in a Bar Lager or see if they can get some in for you. That's all local liquors. Head in, ask politely, hey, could you grab some Bloke Lager, order some in? Aussie World Pub on Sunny Coast at Caloundra at the Caloundra Turnoff. Fantastic celebration superstore with heaps of ice cold Bloke ready for you. Big Fish celebrations just off the Bruce Highway. Crafty Fox Ale House Hawthorn. Gumdale celebrations. Camp Hill celebrations. Crafty Fox Ale House Hawthorn celebrations in Grange Drive-Through Bottle Shop. Knights defeat the Titans 46-26. Well, this is a really great contest until it just looked like the Titans completely looked frazzled. Like it was like all of a sudden, the last 20 minutes, they completely lost concentration and just fell out of the game. Whereas the Knights, they almost looked ruthless compared to the Titans. Caleb Ponga was outstanding. What a great win for the club. And once again, you have to give Adam O'Brien some credit here. We're talking about a team that's been absolutely peppered and under the pump with injuries, superstars being, moved position. But at the end of the day, right now, at the start of the season, if you said that they'd be sitting 11th and one win outside the 8, you'd say that's a successful season. Add in everything bad that's happened, I think they deserve a bit of credit.
For sure. I agree with you. The Titans, I know, just when they came out in the second half, it just fell apart so quickly, didn't it?
It was bizarre. It was seriously
fell off
bizarre.
a cliff all of a sudden. The knockout blow was obviously that Dane Gagai try where, to his credit, I think Kieran Foran, he's very good at getting penalties in those situations. Didn't go his way this time, but most of the time he does get them spot on and earns his side a penalty. But just the way it fell off in the second half, just that way the left edge just cut him up. Yeah, you had Marsu, Best, KP all down that left edge that scored, and they just, God, it's a good edge to watch play footy when they're on.
Oh, when they're on, they're almost unstoppable.
Like I almost felt sorry for the right edge of the Titans because it's just like once KP, as you always say, once he gets flat and fast and he's going over the advantage line, he's just impossible to stop.
Man, Bradman Best with a double, big angry Best, come back from Bali, filthy.
Didn't this game just deliver everything we'd hoped for? It was this awesome game to watch. 13 tries in it. Yeah. And you expected nothing less, did you? I got on punting play, the overs, the line was like 45 points or something. I was like, it's the safest bet I've made in my entire life. It was, when you're doing your tipping each week, we're seeing the impact of teams coming off the bye. They're just the NRL is so grueling on the body week to week. It takes it out of you. When you get a fresh side, it just goes a long, long way. The record this year of teams off the bye is really positive. So, maybe you could give Titans a bit of benefit of the doubt there. But, yeah, 2 great attacking displays. Defence, as I said, probably what we expected. But, yeah, good win, the 90s.
Shout out to Bradman Best too. Obviously copped a bit in the media last week and whatnot. deservingly or not. I'll let you guys decide that. But great to see him bounce back with 2 tries and just a strong game all round.
Yeah. Greg Marju, he is an absolute problem for defences. In attack, obviously he got that crazy try. Like, he had no right whatsoever to score that try. No right. He had 12 tackle breaks. 12 tackle breaks. Seriously, it is incredibly out of line break. He's been such a good pickup for them. I understand, like, Dom Young and Greg Marju, we always talk about their shortcomings in regards to, but you've got to give them raps as well. And, like, they've both impacted games so many times for the club. And I don't think that what is frustrating, I think, if you are a fan of Marju or Dom Young, every time they get a compliment, it's always with a but.
Yeah.
And I do think you need to give them some, I think we all need to give them a bit of appreciation for, like, they're impacting games much more than most wingers in the competition right now.
Isn't it crazy? I felt like watching yesterday, Gagai, Best, and Ponga were untouchable. They combined for a grand total of 8 tackle breaks. Marsu had 12.
No,
The kick that, for the first try of the game, I believe it was, for Dom Young that Hastings put up, as soon as he kicked it, I was just like, not the play. I'm like, easily bat it away or knock him or contest or whatever. Dom Young had no right to score from there.
So good.
It was, like, so athletic of him, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I'll give you a stat on tackle breaks. So of all the players that have played more than 5 games this year, on average, Knights have 3 of the top 4 players on tackle breaks per game. So Greg Marzu's winning on 8.3, then Lockie Miller on 7.3, then Dylan Edwards, then Dane Gagai.
Wow.
Gee.
Wow. I mean, yeah, as I said, if you took away all the negative and they were sitting where they were sitting, you'd still say it was a good year. I've got to say, Hastings has been, in the media from a form perspective, really quiet. Like, you haven't been hurt. It hasn't been the Hastings show. But, geez, doesn't it just show you how important a good ball-playing 7 that just gets you around the park is? Look, there's no way that the Newcastle Knights are in any of these games that he's playing unless they had a guy like Hastings just steering him around. If they had stuck with what was going on before, it just would have been a nightmare. Now, is it a fair swap for what they ended up... Oh, no, that was a different swap. It was Lockie Miller. Now, Hastings and Ponga, what's good about them right now is they haven't played much footy together. So I'd assume it's only going to get better.
Yep.
What was really interesting from the weekend, though, with KP back at 6 playing, a lot of minutes, and this may be just a purely coincidence, but Lockie Miller had probably his quietest, not probably, he definitely had his quietest game of the whole season. 13 runs, 113 metres, still 5 tackle breaks, which is outstanding. Defensively, definitely needs quite a bit of work, Lockie Miller. But I wonder how long that... Because, like, the combination... This is the situation that the Knights are in. Ponga, Hastings haven't played together, essentially. Lockie Miller hasn't played with Ponga. Phoenix Crossland is a makeshift 9, and yet they're still getting wins on the board.
Add on top of that, within 2 or 3 weeks, Adam Ellett, he's always been their first choice 13. He hasn't been there much at all.
Yep.
So then you throw in another member of their spine if you want to include Locke in it. Newcastle have done very, very well to be where they are. They've done incredibly well to be where they are. And I noticed yesterday, you already mentioned Jackson Hastings, but like I noticed that on the strapping on his arm, he's had one word, then it was just compete. That's what Newcastle are just all about at the moment.
Yeah.
When you said before, Tim, when you started your sentence, you said, what about that kick? I straight away thought the Kalen Ponga grubber to Tyson Frizzell.
Oh, yeah.
You can't defend that.
Yeah.
You cannot
So
defend it. To get from dummy half and show one under and then drop it on his right foot and just it cannot be defended.
Yeah, you got to pre-read it pretty much as a winger. Like, you got to be like, "Oh, Kalen Ponga's getting out of dummy half here. Like, something's on here."
And that kick was so perfect, you could have pre-read it and still missed it.
Yeah,
It
for
was
sure.
perfection.
For sure.
Just need now 90s. Please back it up.
Yeah.
Back up the performance. Like, they had that. There was a good win over the Warriors. Then there was the real gritty loss to the Panthers. Then you're like, all right, let's go and beat the Cowboys. Got done there, that's fine. But then Para pumped with that abysmal performance. Quite good on the weekend. Back it up against the Sharkies, 3 p.m. Coffs Harbour that game's at.
Yep.
You just want to see him compete again and start stringing them together.
Yeah.
Is the debate put to bed around KP fullback Queensland after that? Is it, or is it still him v Walsh? How do you see it?
Oh, I think after that, you definitely KP. As long as he gets through this next game.
He's available. Yeah.
Sweet. Like, he looked confident. He looked electric. Yeah, I think KP fit, it's not even a debate as to who gets his spot, in my opinion.
And just having a look further down the track, if they do, manage to put up a win against the Sharkies this week, they take on Manly the week after, who's going to be without Ches, potentially without Turbo, maybe without Olakawatu at Newcastle Sunday afternoon. So,
Yep.
Into a bye.
So yeah, great stuff. Great stuff for the Knights. It's just racking up wins. That's what it really is about for them. Like just putting wins together. Wait till they get their full squad back. Adam Elliott fit again. Ponga building the combinations with Justin Hastings, Lockie Miller. I am surprised that they let go of Randall because Randall's going really well at the Titans. He would have been good to have at the club right now.
All things considered, Crossland he's done a job for them.
For sure.
Great 40-20 in the weekend, playing massive minutes.
Yeah.
As I said, long-term solution. It's not him, but he's having a crack.
I also think, as good as Randall would have been, if KP's playing his best footy and you've got Marshall on that left edge, I'm okay with the trade.
As in Lockie Miller for the young gun.
Oh, no, sorry. I
rower.
meant the Marshu for Chris Randall one.
Oh, the Marjorie for Chris. Yeah, for sure. I'm okay with that trade. The only trade that I'm still a bit unsure on is the Miller for that young front rower.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. But, yeah, I think Newcastle definitely heading in the right direction. No doubt about that. I'm excited to see where they finish up this year.
For sure.
Now to the Titans. Thoughts on the Titans, boys?
I thought they'd...
Turned a corner.
Yeah. This is right back to the Titans that... I was going to say we know and love, but we don't love this about the Titans. We know that they can be a good defensive side, but they just fell off a cliff here in this one. And this feels like back to last year where, they'd hang in a game because of Fafita just being a lab project of a footballer. And it felt like that once again. Titans, I think they've been really good the last few weeks. I've been really impressed with them. Did feel like they'd turned a corner. So I'm happy to give them another week or two to see how they go. But very, very disappointed with that performance from the Titans.
Yeah, super disappointing. Just the way they dropped off in the end there. Like they were in the game. The game was there to be won, and they just completely dropped off. And I'm disappointed for them because they'd built so well.
It's a perfect way to put it. Yeah.
Like they'd gone at almost all the negative feedback they'd gotten, and they'd gone, no, we aren't that side anymore. And I'm not saying that they definitely are that side now because of one game, but this is very similar to what we've seen from the Titans over the last few years. A couple of games together, we go, oh, okay, they're here, and then boom, they let themselves down, and they put in a performance like that, 69% completion rate. And as I said, it was just that, especially the last 20 minutes, like they just completely lost concentration. And it was like a joint. Everyone did. Just heads were off. Yeah. Timmy, what do you think?
Yeah, 46 points to the Knights. Like they've got comfortably the worst defensive record in the NRL. 26.9 per game. That's a lot of points.
Yeah.
And just disappointed that we're back to this conversation where, I mentioned the Knights, we need to see them put them back to back. We saw the Titans do it for a few weeks, but to concede 46 points, like I've got a soft spot for them because they play such an entertaining style of play. I really like their roster. I love Foz and what Fafita's doing this year, but just disappointed to see that performance come out of them.
Yeah. 46 points, just not good enough. Like, especially if last week they were sitting in the 8, I'm pretty sure. They were sitting in the 8.
And it's not like, with no knock on the Knights, if Penrith did it to you or the Bunnies, you're like, all right, these teams are elite attackers, but the Knights to put 46 on you.
Yeah. It's now the Titans, they're on equal points to the Warriors, but they're outside the 8 on 4 and against. And the Knights it's so bizarre how this year has been because up until this weekend, you'd say the Titans have had a successful year. And you'd say the Knights have had this year from hell. And yet 1 point separates them. Literally 1 point. But yeah, with the Titans, I don't know what else to say because Titans fans get frustrated with us because we talk about the defence all the time. But unfortunately, this game, like when you leak 46 points against a team that isn't really known as an attacking powerhouse, you have to say it like it is, and it's their defence. They just sometimes... They had 2 games where they refused to give up and they enjoyed the grind and all the tough stuff that comes with rugby league. And whereas this game, it just felt like when the grind was about to hit, they just went, we'd rather score more points than you than out-defend you.
And we can sit here and wrap their attack. We know they can attack. They've been able to attack the last 5 years, but we've wanted to see defence and then this happened, so it's hard.
Shout out to Mo Fodawaker. put in another shift on the weekend. I thought he was very good. I don't know if he makes the Queensland side simply because you got so many forwards to pick from, but I think he's playing better now than when he got selected for Queensland a couple of years ago.
He's playing some great footy, some really good footy. Obviously, Dave Fafita, speak about him every week now. Talk about Mr. Consistent. For him to take that intercept and cleanly outrun wingers, fullbacks, centres, it is genetically impossible. It should be impossible. A bloke that big and strong is that fast. Unbelievable.
For a back row to even catch that kick, that was coming at him at a million miles an hour. He had a split second to do it. But as soon as he took his first step, no one was ever catching him.
Yeah, he just, boom, gone. Yeah. And Lockie Miller, he's a small fullback. So it's not like he's a big Charlie Mitt, and Charlie Mitt probably would have caught him, but that's a small fullback chasing him.
And you could see on Miller's face by about the 40-metre line, he went, shit.
I'm not going to be able to catch him.
I'm never going to get closer than this.
Which is shocking.
And we talk about, I know we talk about it every week, but I really enjoy talking about it because we've wanted to see it for so long, but the for and impact on Fafita, and we sort of said coming into the season and all last year that the Titans used Fafita so poorly. Was there a better example of using Fafita than that first try of his where Foltz just brings him underneath him late, full steam ahead, and gets him one-on-one with Lockie Miller? It's like Frizzell slightly overcommitted, so he got his sort of essentially a one-on-one with Miller. And I just went, that was so good to watch.
That is the definition of how you should use Fafita. And that's what's so frustrating about this game for the Titans, because for 40 minutes or even 50 minutes, you're going... Even if they lost the game, you'd be like, I don't care that they lost the game. They're showing grit. They're using their players the right way they should be using them. But it just all went out the door for that last 20 or 30 minutes. So as I agree with you, Guru, though, in regards to they've been so good for a couple of weeks now, I'm willing to just go, yes, this is a repeat of what we've seen before, but I hope that this team is different to what... I do think this team is different. I do think. I still believe that this team will react more quickly than a Titans team of yesteryear. It's just a really disappointing performance. Just a really disappointing performance. Anything else with the Titans, boys?
All good, mate.
No, over to the Titans. We'll see how they respond.
Yep. Now, Manly v. the Sharks. Manly get up 20-14. I actually think the score doesn't really reflect how dominant the Sharks were. I thought the Sharks dominated most of the game. I will say, though, that from a Sharks perspective, a little bit disappointing that they weren't ruthless to just put the game away, because it should have been put away. Manly showed a bit of fight, but I'm definitely concerned about Manly. They don't look anywhere near the side that they looked at the start of the year. They look a bit disjointed. Their forward pack... The forward pack that took it to the Storm doesn't look anywhere near the forward pack that we saw yesterday. The positives for the Sea Eagles is DCE continues to play his ass off. I thought Garrick was really good for the Sea Eagles. The Sharkies, Nico Hines once again in everything. I thought Jesse Ramian had some really good moments as well. Some really strong defence, some great one-on-one tackles on his line. So a bit of a mixed bag. Great to get a win away from home, but probably should have been a bit more ruthless, the Sharkies. What do you reckon, Guru?
It's a weird game. I think both teams improved out of sight from last week. Not saying a heap about Manly, but I thought that game last week against Brisbane was dreadful. I thought the Sharks were pretty ordinary against the Dolphins, but I'm still not overly impressed with both sides.
Yeah.
Manly, that they should be a better side than what they are. And I agree with you, mate. The Sharkies, I think that should be their sole focus throughout the entire year, that we're not a team that concedes easy points. I think that was a classic game where at halftime, Fitzgibbon, I imagine, would have said to them, keep them to 0. Yeah. This is where we can start to make statements, because that's, they're similar to the Titans in that we know they can attack, we know what they can do with the ball. It's defensively that we need to see it, and they're nowhere near as poor defensively as the Gold Coast Titans. But the Sharkies are in the premiership conversation, and if you're going to win a premiership, you've got to out-defend the Panthers.
Yeah, it's a good point to make in regards to, we're talking about premiership contenders here right now. We're not talking about a team that's lucky to be in the 8. We think the Sharkies could potentially win a comp this year. But I guess a win away at Brookie, you can't snub your nose at that.
Yeah, it's fair.
It's not a bad thing. What do you reckon about the Sharkies, Timmy?
Yeah, I said they got the job. You're spot on in saying that the scoreline probably wasn't a reflection of the Sharkies' dominance in this game. They bounced back from a poor performance. Not overly impressive, but after conceding so many points the week before, I think to only concede 14 over at Brookie, I was a decent enough performance, and that'll be right.
Yeah, if I was a Sharkies fans, I'd be like, tick, satisfactory, on to the next. But I wouldn't be sitting there going. It didn't sit me I wasn't watching that game going, wow, Sharkies are on the level of Rabbitohs, Penrith Panthers right now. They could get there. I think they've got the roster too, and I think when they're on, they are so good to watch. Maybe one of the best clubs in the whole tournament to watch. It's the whole
tournament.
Jesus Christ, the tourney. We're doing tourney now. The whole league to watch. Standouts for you guys. Britton Nicola, he was absolutely phenomenal. Jeez, isn't he coming into his own? That line that he hits and the aggression which he defends at, it is just so good to watch.
Winger line breaks.
Oh, mate. Winger line breaks.
Streaking down the
Streaking down outside Tom Trbojevic. You're going to tell his kids that. I gassed Tom Trbojevic. I thought, Nicola was great. Nico Hines, obviously, in everything. I thought Cam McInnes got through a mountain of work. Far out, he loves it, doesn't he? Jeez, he bloody rips and tears.
I thought Katoa was tremendous as well.
Yeah, some of his acrobats and that. Flipping in and out of tackles, stepping blokes. When he made that catch or whatever, then he stepped inside Tom. Oh, I mean,
he must be so hard to mark.
Oh, my God. Seriously. I thought, actually, there were some good signs from Matty Moylan. I thought he ran the ball a little bit more. And obviously he's getting more confident in his body as he plays more footy. I actually like that from Matty Moylan, just adding that to his game rather than being the guy that's always going to pass it. Anyone else stand out for you, boys?
He ran for 100 metres, Moiser.
Yeah, I know. And I really noticed it in the game. I was like, fuck, Moiser.
39 runs between the two halves.
Crazy, eh?
Oof.
Crazy. Who else stood out for you guys for the Sharkies?
I mean, it just, he had a solid enough performance, but I just love seeing Connor Tracy down at a level.
He was good.
He just comes in and no matter what, can cover so many different positions, and every time he does, he slots in seamlessly.
Yeah. It's a good shout. I really did like Connor Tracy back.
I loved when you saw them actually just shift Royce Hunt just out of the middle, just not play him on an edge, but just have him a little bit wider and just get him one-on-one. He's got Andrew Fafita sort of type ability, Royce the choice. So I think they need to utilise him more like that. If you get him one-on-one, it's over.
He's so big and so
Huge.
strong. Well, and there was one tackle, I think, did he score on Olakau'atu?
Yes.
And I was like, ooh, Freddie would be watching that. And that's one thing that obviously, and it's one tackle. It seems so unfair to Olakau'atu, but in Origin, one tackle is everything.
Yep.
Everything. And to completely fall off that, it's a big deal in Origin. You just
Definitely
can't.
is. Especially when you think about the guys he's competing with. I don't think a Hudson falls off that. I don't think a Liam Martin falls off that. So, and as you said, it's one tackle and it's harsh, but it's what Origin's about.
And that's a compliment to him being in the Origin chat.
For sure.
One of the best back rows in the comp. You just, he can get an offload or he could drag you, but to completely fall off the tackle like that, I think he completely fall off the tackle correctly. They're the one moments you just can't have in Origin.
It's one of those ones where you can say, he wasn't helped by the defense around him, which I completely agree
For
with.
sure, DC got past him, 100%.
But it's one-on-one, you got to make it.
Yeah,
if
for
you're
sure.
going to play Origin in 2 weeks' time, you got to make it.
And that's where it's if, let's say he made it and then Royce Hunt got an offload, you'd be like, oh, okay, all good. And you're right, DC rushing up outside him definitely didn't help him. But it's just that one tiny thing that Origin selectors might go, if that happens in Origin, that's 6 points. That's 6 points, and it's a one-on-one tackle. We're the biggest Olakau'atu fans. It sounds so unfair to say it, but it's just when you're at that top tier level, they look at everything.
Yeah.
Anyone else stand out for you for the Sharkies?
No, just a good team performance, I think. Just getting the job done.
All right, on to Manly. I will say, though, last week, the only bloke that looked dangerous against the Broncos was Olakau'atu, so...
Yeah.
But, yeah, on to Manly. Oh, man. as I said, thought Garrick was great. Thought DCE was great. I thought Paseka had moments. Croker had moments, but I'm a bit worried about Manly, to be honest. I'm a bit worried about them this year. It just... Their best game is so far from their not so good games. It's concerning.
Just on Olaquatu too, I mean, like, did miss that tackle and whatnot. Still to his credit, 150 metres. He topped the game for post-contact metres. So it wasn't a train wreck, but it is just that one thing.
That's what I mean.
Really important, yeah.
It's honestly sounds so harsh, so ridiculous when you look at his stats. You go, are you boys serious? Look like how good of a game he had. But that's what the selectors look at, especially coming into Origin. It's like that split second. And it's not to say that means he won't. I would still, depending on Martin and all these other things, I would still potentially have him on the bench. And I think he's been that good, but it is just a big moment.
It's also, if you missed it on halfway, that's different to a metre out.
On your line. Yeah. Oh, I mean, yeah, Royce Hunt is so fucking big, though.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about Manly?
Improvement on last week, but still a long way off where they want to be. And for me, mate, the talking point was Tommy Turbo. We said watching him at Magic Round last week when he was playing, when he was just walking around the field, he just didn't look himself and looked far from himself in this game, to the point that they had him defending on the wing at one point. Doesn't look good.
Yeah, and he tried to start the game and inject himself quite early. He took quite a few runs. But yeah, like him defending on the sting.
It's not like a try.
Yeah, not like trying. Him defending on the sting, that was shocking to me. I was like, what? He wouldn't be tired, would he?
I wouldn't think so.
I really hope I have egg on my face and this backfires, but you couldn't pick him for the Blues, I don't think.
Yeah, now.
I'm so happy to say it, because if I do look like a dickhead in 3 weeks' time, he's killed it for the Blues, so I'm like, sweet, I'll cop that. But, geez...
he just doesn't look like he could stride out. That's the problem. Like, you've got to stride out in Origin. You can't. How could you? Even if it was like Andrew Johns, and he couldn't stride out. I mean, you'd probably select him because it's a different position. But an outside back, if it was say Greg Inglis, and he couldn't stride out, and he hadn't played well all year.
Well, like a Joey or a number of halves could. Even Nathan Cleary, let's say.
Steer it around.
They can steer him around and play an Origin in a dinner suit and like just get around the park and kick well.
Yeah.
But you're an outside back. You run the ball.
Yeah.
So on SEN this morning, whilst this show was being recorded, Brandy was on SEN, and he said last week at training he ran at 80% speed, which was the fastest he's run since January. So that's pretty telling stuff.
There you go.
Can you really select someone that can only run 80% at the moment? And he's clearly doing it. He's being told by the higher ups, change your running gait so that you're not going to have hammy injuries for the rest of your career, kind of thing. Man, surely I reckon Tommy would have the conversation. He'd be able to tell Freddie whether he's sweet or not.
Yeah, but is he not having these conversations at Manly?
No, but like with Origin, I'm sure he would go, I'm not ready for Origin right now. I'm not that fit. Whereas at Clubland, like, they'd make the argument that your 80% is better than your replacement.
Whereas your 80% is not better than Campbell Graham or
in form
whoever
right
the centre might be.
And also the pace of the game in Origin too. It's so quick.
Big time.
Man, I feel so sorry for him. I mean, just you can see the weight of the world is on his shoulders, and he's trying as hard as he can, but his body is just... Hopefully this is some early pain and he does change his running gait. And then next year we see him just hit his straps again and we're just going, wow. Anyone else in regards to Manly? Anything else in regards to Manly?
Yeah, so the rhetoric with Manly is always, how will they go if no Tommy Trbojevic? Can they win without him? How about the last 6 games? So Jake Trbojevic has missed 6 games for Manly in the last 2 seasons. The results in that time, 20-14 against the Manly, lost to Brisbane 32-6 last year. 21-20 to the Dogs, 48-6 to the Raiders. These are all losses. 40-6 against the Sharks, and 20-6 against the Dragons.
Wow, yeah. And he didn't play against the Broncos either, did he?
No. So his last 6 games, Manly's last 6 games without him in the last 2 years have all been quite significant losses. So Jake Trbojevic, when you're missing a bloke who makes 45 to 50 tackles in the middle and plays those big minutes and hardly misses one and, can generate momentum through his defence, which is something that not a lot of players in the NRL can do as effectively as him, shows the impact he has on that side.
Does it make the defeat look not as bad without Jake Trbojevic, 20-14? Does it soften the blow?
I think it's showing how important he is, how good a player he is for starters, and how important he is to that side. So it softens it a little bit. But
I reckon it doesn't soften it because the Sharks are missing probably their three best props in Menulog, Toby Rudolph, Oregon Kafusi, and they're also missing Sifa Talakar.
Yeah, good point. Good point, Matty. So
Hate it when he does that.
Yeah, he said he was on today. He finally showed it.
It took 4 hours.
Yeah. So anyway, bit of a not that much to take out of this game, in my opinion, from both sides. But a win's a win for Sharkies, and Manly need to start winning to get back in the top 8. Now let's get on to tips. Broncos v Panthers. Broncos at the moment 275. Panthers 145. What are you going, boys?
Penrith.
Panthers.
Penrith.
Broncos. Broncos. St. George Dragons. Illawarra Dragons versus Roosters. St. George. Illawarra $3. Roosters $1.39.
Thought you were tipping him for a second. Roosters.
Roosters.
And I think they bounce back in a big way after that. I mean, if they don't, it is because you've gone Cowboys dominated you, Panthers dominated you. If they don't, it is absolutely on alarm bells.
Will be interesting though if the Dragons do get a new coach during the week.
See how the players respond. Yeah.
When there's a new coach coming in, I feel like so often the first game they get up for.
They get up for it.
South Sydney Rabbitohs versus the Eels.
Bunnies.
South, and it's Indigenous round this week. The South boys usually live for that.
Yeah.
Well,
love
Latrell's
Indigenous
scoring
round.
6.
Yeah, love Indigenous round. Sharkies night. I'm going Bunnies. Sharkies Knights.
Sharkies.
Sharks.
Yeah, I'm going Sharkies. Tigers. Cowboys.
Cows.
Jeez. I am going to go the Tigers.
Timmy, I'm with you. I'm going Tigers.
Oh, the Tigers have been actually quite. I mean, if they complete it high,
Take them.
going Cowboys. Dolphins Storm. I don't even want to tip against the Dolphins because.
No.
Oh my god.
Off the bye as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are you going, boys?
I'm going to go the Storm.
Yeah, I'm going Storm, but Dolphins every chance.
Yeah, I'm going Dolphins. Especially because they have so many former Storm players, and they're at home, and they're off.
I'm going Dolphins. Canterbury Bulldogs versus the Titans.
I'll take the Titans to bounce back.
Shit. Where are we at? In Sydney, Sunday Arvo day game. I'll go Titans.
Yeah, Titans.
Oh, so you've all gone Titans?
Yeah.
Oh, Doggy's got so many injuries. I'll go Doggies.
Nice.
Raiders, Seagulls.
Raids for me.
I'm going Raids. I think, I'll just leave it at that.
Raiders.
Yeah, I'm going to go Raiders.
It worries me.
That's tipping. Thanks to Sportsbet. Obviously, gamble responsibly. You win some, but you lose more. But if you're going to have a punt, you do with Sportsbet. They're the best in the business. As usual, got beers and break evens at 3 p.m. on Wednesday.
3 p.m. Wednesday, yep. See you there.
And I'll go and fuck myself.
What are you really gambling with? For free and confidential support, visit gamblinghelponline.org.au.